Broadcasting from the Dollar Loan Center Don'tBeBroke.com studios. KXST AM North Las Vegas. KXTE HD3 Pahrump Las Vegas. CBS Sports Radio 1140. Radio.com sports station. Round one is now on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Live from our draft headquarters in New York.
And here are the guys that get you the
NFL Draft Show on CBS
Scott
Sports
Gulbransen,
Radio.
and Tony Cordasco.
Here are your hosts, Mark Malusis and Amy Lawrence.
Yes, draft night is upon us. Welcome aboard our live coverage of the 2019 NFL Draft right here on CBS Sports Radio as it comes to you live from Nashville, Tennessee. Mark Malusis, Amy Lawrence alongside with you. We've got Chris and
We don't like them. Hi, Paul. Paul Ihander with you here on Draft Night. NFL coverage underway here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. We are here for 4 straight hours, the entire round one of the NFL Draft. For those of you following us at home, thanks for joining along. We will be your spirit guides. And when I say the word we, I turn my attention to the 3 other gentlemen sitting at this table. Scott Gulbransen of Silver and Black today. Scott?
Here we are, Paul. It's that time. No more mock drafts, no more rumors. None of that. It's time. It's time for the Raiders to do something. It's time for the rest of the NFL to pick their future.
The Don of Las Vegas Sports is here as well. Tony Cordasco, host of Saturday Sports Beat. Tony, what are you looking forward to for the next 4 hours?
I'm looking forward to. Thanks for having me, by the way. But you know what? The strange thing is, we're guessing, right? And probably if we were to give a percentage, right, guys, on whether or not Kyler Murray would go to Phoenix. It's probably pretty high to the Arizona Cardinals. But if he does it, I mean, how intriguing would the draft be? And this is a draft that we have to remember. You have so many defensive linemen, so many edge rushers, and I'm looking forward to the Raiders, because they're moving here in 1 year, building that defensive line and getting an edge rusher. I'm sure we'll go deeper into it as the night goes on, but I'm so, I like the mock drafts because I like the experts fighting each other on Twitter. That was my favorite part of watching mock drafts this year.
It certainly makes it very interesting. And also our 4th member here at the table, our draft expert, Kelly Kriner, is here. And Kelly, this is one of those amazing nights where, the rubber hits the road, where we are finally here. All the tapes, all the studying, all the play, all the analysis comes down for essentially 32 of the nation's most premier collegiate football players to turn dreams into reality.
Yeah, and this draft could be very interesting because it's been one of the quietest lead-ups to a draft you've had in a while. Last year, with all the quarterbacks around, there's trades made before the draft, talks about everything. This year, it's been pretty quiet. You're hearing things about the Jets and the Raiders at 3 and 4 now, and maybe somebody moving up. But I mean, compared to other drafts, it's been kind of mundane, which usually means this is going to be a very interesting afternoon.
It's a very interesting afternoon, no doubt about it. We are live here at Born and Raised in Las Vegas on Warm Springs, just west of Buffalo. A big turnout here. We can see a lot of fans from a lot of different football teams. Lots of Raider Nation has turned out here with us. We see a handful of Giants fans as well as some Seahawks fans here in the house. So come on down and join us. And we're a little bit crowded, but we certainly have some standing room only, and we've got some cool giveaways as well as you come down here. And Born and Raised is also giving us the approval for a draft night to do game day specials. They have $3.50 Bud Light, and Michelob Ultra. It says Mish Ultra on my thing here. $4.50 Estrella Jalisco, $5.50 Jägermeisters, and then they've got buckets for $20 and beer towers for $21. So Born and Raised Las Vegas, thanks to them for hosting us. I'm going to be drinking water for the majority of the night, as I hope most of my colleagues are as well. This is one of those nights, gentlemen, incredibly special, not just because of being the first round of the NFL Draft, which is, Christmas Day for a lot of fans as well as GMs across this league. But also, Tony, the wheeling and dealing that led us up to this moment. And I think a lot of the dominoes that fell early on, especially when free agency started, the 2 that stand out, obviously, the signing of Antonio Brown by the trade for Antonio Brown to the Raiders, and then also the trade by the New York Giants of Odell Beckham to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, it's been a really exciting, offseason with a lot of news. coming out. And then we had the one trade this week that we saw as well with Frank Clark, who was just franchised, right, by the Seahawks guys. They wanted to get rid of him, off the field issues and whatever, and the Chiefs were the takers there. And again, that's the wheeling and dealing will not stop tonight. I really do believe, and we're gonna for the Raiders. I think to be successful this upcoming season and for the future of the franchise. I know, like, I've done a total turnaround, but I really do like Quentin Williams, and I started to like him a lot more. The Raiders are talking about getting some pressure off the edge, but you could do it in a variety of ways. And Quentin Williams is a bull rusher straight up the middle, but you could put him over the center. You could put him in the guard gap, and you could put him right there in the 5 technique. And you could develop, a really good pass rush. You could walk, linebackers up. You now finally have linebackers with the Raiders. They have the linebackers, and they have, some good cornerbacks that they could rush off the edge. They have to get Quentin Williams for them to be successful this season, headed into Vegas in 2020.
There's no doubt, Tony, that everyone pointed towards the edge, right? They said the Raiders were so terrible last year with the rush. They had no rush, let's face it. And so everybody said they need to get an edge rusher. Edge rusher was the key. But Mike Mayock at the Combine, what did he say? When he talked to NFL quarterbacks, what did they say the most disruptive thing to them in a game, in the flow of an NFL game, is always pressure up the middle. So to get someone like Quentin Williams to add to a Maurice Hurst from last year, to add to P.J. Hall, who's more of a developmental player, but coming along, and then Eddie Vanderdoes, does he get better? Who knows? We don't know that. But that push up the middle could be very big. But we're hearing reports today that they're trying to move up in the draft. Is it to get Quentin Williams at number 3? Now we're hearing in the last hour that they might be moving up to trying to move up to number 2 with the 49ers. I can't imagine the Raiders and the 49ers pulling off a deal, but you never know. And Kelly, you called this back in February. You did your first mock draft right after the Super Bowl, and you said Quentin Williams was the guy.
He's been my number 1 player on my board from the get-go. I mean, he's a franchise-changing defensive tackle, and you have to get pressure on a quarterback. It doesn't have to be from the edge. It can be from anywhere, as long as you're getting that pressure. And if Williams is there at 4, or if they trade up, I have no problem with them trading up a pick or 2 to get the guy you want. That's the big. Everybody wants to trade down. Everybody wants to trade down. If there is somebody you have at the top of your board that you think is your player, get him. Go get him. Don't take the chance of him falling and go into your second or third option.
Assets are the most important thing when it comes to an NFL draft. The Raiders with 3 first-round picks at number 4, at number 24, and at number 27, all due to trades. Of course, the Khalil Mack trade early on, the Amari Cooper trade. So there are assets. Plus, they have an early pick in the second round at 35, which will not happen tonight, obviously, but will happen early tomorrow. CBS Sports Radio 1140 crew is here. Paul Ihander, Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, Kelly Kriner, going to take you through the entire first round as we're waiting actually for the draft to actually get underway, as no one is officially on the clock at this point. The commissioner has certainly taken his time to move forward. And as we remind you where we're at here, born and raised here, Las Vegas, just off of the 215, head south on Buffalo, head west on Warm Springs. We do have some great giveaways available for you. It is an amazing scene when you look at what Nashville is doing, guys, with the draft, how they've set it up. It is truly an exciting time to be in that kind of a city. They are certainly setting up the blueprint, as a lot of people need to realize this scene that we're doing here within Born and Raised will be on a much larger scale come next year when the entire league comes to Las Vegas.
Paul, let me tell you, it's going to, and Tony uses the best expression, it's going to be bananas, okay? And
it took me a lot of time to come up with that expression.
But if you look at Nashville, Nashville's an amazing. We were talking about this before we went on there. Nashville's a great place to visit. If you haven't been there, check it out. It's a beautiful spot. A lot of fun things to do. At the same time, with all due respect to everybody in Nashville, it's not Las Vegas. Las Vegas can do things bigger and better than anybody, I believe, and you're about to see that next year. And what a great way to promote your city. Nashville's doing it tonight. Las Vegas will do it next year. And the question is, where are they going to hold it, Tony? Where are they going to put the draft? We're seeing this downtown area, and we don't have anything similar to that here except for downtown Las Vegas, which is much smaller.
Hang on one second. It's time to boo the commissioner. They're doing it right down Broadway in Nashville. Here in Las Vegas, the Strip obviously would be and there's the booze. The Strip would be the place to be. Caesars has a huge partnership. In fact, at Dre's nightclub there at the Cromwell, right on the corner of Las Vegas Boulevard and Flamingo, the Raiders are having their big party there. Who's there? Antonio Brown?
Antonio Brown's there, and our own Chaz Osborne's there as well.
And he'll be checking in later on.
I'm sure that was the highlight they put on the invitation.
Absolutely.
To everybody.
They have to put this on the Strip.
Silver and black today.
You have to have the draft on the Strip some way. They have the partnership with Caesars, and I really would like to see it at all four corners there on Flamingo and the Strip.
But Paul brought it up. It's hard because the Strip never closes except for New Year's Eve.
Yeah, they'll close it down for this.
It's going to take some big.
It's truly challenging, I think, when you think of Las Vegas Boulevard. Not only just palm trees getting in the way of sight lines, but you also have to deal with the medians, and then you have to deal with the concrete barriers. Again, it'll be interesting to see how the NFL works its way into Las Vegas and becomes part of the fabric. Obviously, the NFL draft will be one of those things when it comes to being just integrated into this community. Of course, it will all happen eventually with and it sounds like we have our podium feed too. So we'll take a listen to that right now.
Incredible fans around the world showed us their passion for the team and how generations of families have been connected through football. With us here tonight are the three finalists.
Notice there's a duck up there.
There is a duck up there.
And the winner of NFL season tickets for the next 100 years. That's what I said, 100 years. Representing the New York Giants.
Now there's a shocker. Someone from the New York Giants just won season tickets for the rest of their life.
100 years.
Well done. That was Mean Joe Green there actually making the announcement. He didn't offer anyone a Coke.
No, we're aging ourselves on that one. There's a bunch of 20-year-olds out there saying, well, what are you talking about?
It's YouTube. It's on YouTube.
That's true.
It's on YouTube. As we move our way through the first round of the NFL draft here, the commissioner will get things underway in Music City. We do have a lot of experts that will be weighing in throughout the night, including our panel here at Born and Raised Las Vegas. We'll have Jeff Munn from Arizona, Peter Burns from the SEC Network, who will be joining us to talk about some of the SEC draftees. Nate Lundy is in Denver, and who is the co-host of the nationally syndicated Fantasy Football Now show. And he will have some insight into Denver if they manage to stay at number 10. Also, Heisman Trophy winner, former NFL quarterback Geno Torreta will join us. And Radio.com insider Elliot Shore Parks will join us from the East Coast.
Congratulations, Greg, to you and your family.
And there's the commissioner once again. Hopefully he announces the kickoff of the draft here.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Paul, with the draft, what's amazing about this night as well is the fact of how many lives are changed by it. These young men go through their entire life playing, going through college, and building up their career, and now it all comes to this.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many cousins and stuff they now know they had that they didn't know they had a few months ago.
And the Cardinals are officially on the clock, so we are 10 minutes away from our first pick. And, guys, we're going to turn our attention away from all the hyperbole that we've been having to deal with, and now we can actually talk about who is going to go number one. And that is the big question, I think, for most fans, exactly what is going to happen with the Arizona Cardinals. Is it going to be Kyler Murray? Because I have a draft board. I have all these notes here on my draft board saying needs for the Cardinals, for the 49ers, for the Jets. Listen, if you didn't make the playoff, you have an immediate need no matter what. Kelly, do the Cardinals need Kyler Murray?
Well, the second they hired Cliff Kingsbury, this was kind of fait accompli because Josh Rosen, I had him as my number one quarterback last year. He would have been good in any other team. They were just such a dumpster fire last year. But he's not the guy to run the air raid system that Cliff Kingsbury is going to run. So you're going to have to move on from your first round pick, as painful as that is, and you have to take Kyler Murray because if you're going to run the system he ran at Texas Tech, which is what he's been in as a player and a coach his whole life, Murray's the only guy that's going to be able to do that at a high level. So if it's anybody but Murray, I will fall out of this chair.
And I'm to his left, so I don't want him to fall out of his chair.
But are the Cardinals drafting Murray? And this is a total conspiracy theory, gentlemen. Are the Cardinals drafting Murray for someone else? Will they take this, knowing that they have a franchise quarterback in place, Josh Rosen, who might actually be one of the best available quarterbacks tonight? Are they drafting him for someone else in saying that, hey, this is going to be the guy, but not for us?
It's an interesting take and theory. I think not. I think if they take him, they're going to keep him because, as Kelly mentioned, I think Josh Rosen. Kelly and I talk about it all the time. If Josh Rosen was in this draft, he'd be the number one pick, I believe. So Kyler Murray being there, to me, means that they're going to move on, that they're going to go this with Kingsbury's offense, with his desire to have that athleticism at that position and the way he runs his offense. I just think it's going to happen, and I don't see him moving on anywhere else.
Hey, but he's 5'10" and 1/8. And John Gruden even told us so, right?
Yes.
And he said that he still has the capabilities as a dual-threat quarterback to throw the ball, and it doesn't matter, right, about all those measurables and whatever. And his horrible Wonderlic score, does that factor in? I'm not sold on him. I'm not sold on Kyler Murray. Personally, I just don't. I've watched him. Yes, he can win. Yes, he's athletic. Is he another Michael Vick type? Obviously, Michael Vick, had success in the league, but is he that type of a player? One of the things that I saw, too, when you talk about statistics, every pass completion was 17 yards per play this year. So he definitely throws the deep ball, the long ball. He's a competitor. But all those things, is that enough, to make him a guy that's going to be franchise changing?
And, guys, we've been fed highlights upon highlights upon highlights of Kyler Murray. It's very clear he is a very special player. There's no doubt about it. Talent takes you to this point when it comes to the NFL. You put up all the measurables at the combines. They look at your past body of work. They come in, they pinch you, they measure you, they weigh you to no doubt. We were fortunate enough to have a number of his games on 1140. He is clearly a special player. There is no doubt about it. Anybody erases any conviction about height and about hand size and whatnot. But again, for the Cardinals, is it a complete fit for them going, we spent a number one last year on our current quarterback who we didn't give a fair shot to and didn't give a fair shake to. It's not like the GM has turned over. And by the way, for GM Steve Keim in Arizona, this is a make-it-or-break-it decision for him. If it is, in fact, Kyler Murray, I think his tenure in Arizona rides on this number one.
Well, the thing about that, anytime you've got a GM and you draft a quarterback high in the first round, you kind of buy yourself an extra year or two because you got that excuse, hey, we brought this guy and we have to build around him. So it's almost like a safety net for Keim because he can say, hey, we decided to make a change here. You can't fire me next year because it didn't work out like it's supposed to first year. We're building something. You have to give me an extra 2 years. So you see quarterbacks go higher for some teams you wouldn't think draft them for that simple reason that the GM knows if I'm trying to save my job, easiest way to do it is to get a little more rope.
What do you guys do? I mean, what do you do with Josh Rosen if there are no takers, though, right?
I think there are going to be a lot of takers. I mean, I think
the Giants, I guess, reportedly backed out today.
The Dolphins, they weren't interested. Have shown heavy interest.
Washington still.
Washington, even L.A. Chargers have been somewhat in the play there, thinking that Phillip Rivers might have a year or two left. Again, you don't want to take a quarterback there and have him sit because he could be a starter in the NFL. People criticize that way, but let me tell you, technically sound. He had no offensive line last year, and so to judge him based on last year, I think, Kelly, is everybody's big mistake.
Yeah, and the thing that I don't understand is people are talking about Daniel Jones moving up, maybe going 10, maybe going 17.
Don't even go there.
And you won't give that pick for Josh Rosen, who is light years better than Daniel Jones.
Has a year in the league.
Yeah,
I mean, it means something.
And the financial side, if you're a team, it's a real small investment because it's $6 million over the next 3 years, and then you have your fifth-year option because the big bonus money's already been paid. So cash-wise, it makes sense financially.
Okay, so you get Kyler Murray, right, guys? Right, Paul? You get Murray, but then you also have to have an offensive line. Good thing the guy is a dual-threat quarterback, and he can run. He'll be running for his life once again. Rosen was sacked last year 45 times.
Right, and they have needs on defense, Paul. I mean, the Cardinals need a lot of defense.
A very porous offense, a very porous defense. There's no doubt about it. Solid on the corners. Their skill positions are pretty tight. For Arizona, you have Larry Fitzgerald coming back. He's not the receiver that he was, but he still comes back in shape. David Johnson is healthy. New contract. Happy and healthy there. And then Kingsbury coming in as a new coach. It's not going to be a one-and-done situation with him per se, but it'll, The smoke screens have been put up for us for weeks now, and with about 3 minutes left to go on the clock for the Cardinals, they are taking their own sweet time. I would not be shocked if they're taking at least one last phone call going, let's see what's out there, because according to every report they've talked to, Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, and Kyler Murray, and we don't know if the hay's in the barn, as Kingsbury said earlier. We don't know where we're going to go. I have a feeling they've known about this pick for weeks, and everything else has just been formalities to get us to this point.
They've known about this pick the second they hired Cliff Kingsbury, in my opinion, because there's, like I said, there's no one else that you bring in Kingsbury, who failed at Texas Tech, I might add. He got fired from his alma mater in college, and they run to him to hire him as a professional coach, which I think was a mistake, but we'll move on from that. But Josh Rosen's never running that offense. No one else in this draft is running that offense except Kyler Murray. The second you hitched your wagon to Cliff Kingsbury, you hitched your wagon to Kyler Murray.
And then if it is Bosa, right, how do you fit in with a 34 defense when you played a 4-3 at Ohio State?
Well, I think you make it work. Honestly, with the talent of Nick Bosa, I think you just make it work. When we look at what's coming down the pike here for the Arizona Cardinals, as you talked about, Kelly, the relationships, bringing in Kingsbury seem to be, he and Kyler Murray have a relationship that dates back years. A relationship that is almost more like family and brothers than it is coach and player. And that is something that you cannot have in most any professional sense whatsoever prior to coming to this. If they have that kind of a bond, how do you not go that way at this point? And you're going to sell 1 million jerseys, don't get me wrong, but what does it mean for the franchise when you have to flush last year's pick and essentially there's a big reset? It's that easy button from Staples, and you got to pound the easy button one time to see where it takes you.
And Paul, you were down there. I mean, I think there's a business side of this too, right, in the market, which is the Cardinals know it's going to take a few years for them to get back to where they need to be if they want to be competitive and enjoy the success that they did throughout the last few years. And to do that, you bring in a guy like Kyler Murray. Like you said, he's going to sell a lot of jerseys. He's going to sell tickets. People are going to come see him, even if the team maybe isn't as good as it was, because he's that kind of guy. He's that kind of athlete. People pay to see folks that they think are elite athletes. And so I think from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense, too. Of course, you have to have the confidence as a general manager, as an organization, the Bidwell family, as the head coach, that he's the guy who eventually is going to get you where you want to be.
Let me share with you the 3 needs that I wrote down for the Arizona Cardinals, and not one of them is quarterback. Defensive tackle.
Oh, absolutely.
Linebacker. And Tony, offensive line.
It was basically everything but running back, quarterback.
Yeah.
And now it's coming out that they might be trading Peterson today.
And why would you sign, Terrell Suggs in the twilight of his career, right? On the defensive line.
Well, it's a locker room guy.
Let me take the break. Let me step down here, guys. It looks like the pick is in, and we'll wait for the podium feed, and we'll hear the podium come up, and it'll be Commissioner Roger Goodell. We have a live feed from Nashville, and we'll hear the commissioner announce the pick.
Paul, what if this is Quinnen Williams? They need a defensive tackle.
Then I hit 20-1.
But you know what I'm saying? I think Quinnen Williams, to me, is the best player on the board at the top there. Anyway, with Bosa, you could go back and forth on either one of them. But that's a need for them. I don't think it's going to happen, but boy, would that not turn everything upside down?
Oh, it completely changes the draft. I mean, everything's out of whack at this point.
If they took 10 minutes to pick Kyler Murray, I'm going to be really upset.
That's right. Well, hey, they want to make sure. The phones were ringing at the last minute.
Yeah, it looked as though they were working the phones there in the war room. Now, did I see some scouts in that war room in Arizona?
Who needs scouts?
Yeah, Lee Mayock calls them scouties. That was awesome. Best
Who needs them? Arizona. Look at the roster.
All right. The first pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Kyler Murray, quarterback, Oklahoma.
As we thought.
And something we could have had 15 minutes ago and saved us all some time.
And the lone Cardinal fan applauding behind us.
We actually did hear a cheer. We did hear a cheer. Kyler Murray. So that means Murray with the first pick He's off the board, as we thought many, many weeks ago. We are live here at Born and Raised Las Vegas. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break here. We've done plenty of talking. Take a quick break. We're going to get some quick analysis. We'll go to Arizona and talk to our analysts there. It's the NFL Draft on CBS Sports Radio 1140 and radio.com.
We are on the clock. Round 1 of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Oklahoma's Kyler Murray is the number 1 pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. To no one's surprise, sitting at this table, Paul Ihander, Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, and our draft analyst, Kelly Kriner, is here. And gentlemen, what's been tweeted out right now, teams who've been talked to about Rosen, the Giants, the Dolphins, and the Chargers.
Oh, see? My information was reliable. Hey, and you know what? Occasionally, everybody's right.
Broken clocks, right twice a day.
And you just have to wonder, too, did the Cardinals was the first phone call to Josh Rosen? I would hope so, because you know what? It's a business, so that's the way it goes. But you have to let them know. And what as great of a moment it is for Kyler Murray, a bittersweet moment in some ways for Josh Rosen. It's going to be really fascinating to see where he goes.
Yeah, no confidence either, right?
Yeah, clearly.
If the franchise did that to him, they basically mowed him down.
San Francisco is on the clock right now, and apparently the pick is in. And we barely had a chance.
San Francisco's got tickets to the Avengers tonight, too. Yes. They're trying to get out real quick.
Right, we barely had a chance to dissect the Kyler Murray pick. We have Jeff Munn waiting for us on the line right now, and we'll get to him after the 49ers pick. We're waiting for, expecting it right now. They've had Nick Bosa on their board, Kelly, for a very long time. If they don't go this way, it would be a pretty big shock.
I would be shocked. I mean, if it's Bosa, if it's not Bosa, Allen and Williams are up there. They've went D-line the last few years, and it hasn't exactly turned out very well for them. They're already talking about trading Solomon Thomas, so they're moving on from a first-round pick from a couple years ago. So if it's anybody but Bosa, one of those 3 top guys, it's going to be one of those 3 top guys. Let's throw out that they're not shocking the world with the second pick in the draft. They're a team they're going to be closer than a lot of people think to a playoff run. They're not going to get crazy. They're going to take a safer pick because that's where your high-end talent's still here at 2.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Nick Bosa, defensive end, Ohio State.
And Nick Bosa is the pick for San Francisco. And again, the edge rusher that they wanted. They've got a nice front line in San Francisco. That'll make a lot of 49ers fans very, very happy. Let's go to the phones right now. Jeff Munn joining us. He's worked at Arizona State University for the past 15 years. If there's someone more plugged into college game, I'd certainly like to meet him. Also the former voice of the Arizona Hotshots of the now defunct Alliance of American Foosball. Jeff, the reaction in Arizona to the pick of Kyler Murray.
Well, the reaction, I think, is one of relief more than anything else. I heard one of the guys say before the break that they could have done this 15 minutes ago. The Cardinals could have announced this 3 months ago. As we all know, this was speculated almost from the moment that Kyler Murray indicated he was going to go into the NFL draft or go football. So I don't think surprise, no, shock, no. It's almost kind of like anticlimactic that, yeah, because even though a whole plethora of scenarios had been discussed and speculated on, it kept coming back to, well, they'll take Kyler Murray. And so they have, and now we open up a whole new batch of questions.
Jeff Munn live here in Phoenix for us, talking about that number 1 pick for Kyler Murray. So the question from everybody here at this table is the future of Josh Rosen as a Cardinal.
Yeah, and I heard you mention about talking to Josh Rosen. I did see a note today that he did attend workouts at the complex, and when he left about 4 o'clock this afternoon, obviously he had nothing to say to the media, but he did flash them a smile and a wave. He's been very stoic through all this. He was quoted as saying he was a bit annoyed at all the speculation, but he's handled this with an immense amount of maturity, which, by the way, was not the report on him when he came out of college. So I give him credit. He's handled this very well, and I would think now, I don't think you'll hear anything tonight regarding what they'll do, if anything, with Josh Rosen, but I would suspect that tomorrow you'll really start to hear a lot of names being mentioned. You mentioned the teams, the Giants, the Dolphins, and yeah, the Chargers have been mentioned because he is from Los Angeles, and they do need to start thinking about the successor to Phillip Rivers. So that makes that fit on a lot of levels, and you also mentioned the Cardinals' needs, and they are way away from the skill positions. Ironically, and let me just mention this very quick, they have the first pick in the second round, and they've all but indicated that if Arizona State wide receiver N'Keal Harry is available, that's who they would take with the pick to open the second round. So if they do that, they're still not addressing their greatest needs. But maybe they think by trading Rosen, they can get the inventory in terms of draft picks for players to fill those needs.
Jeff, hey, it's Scott Gulbransen. By the way, my daughter's Forks Up. She's graduating there next weekend, so I'll be down in your I'll be down there in your neck of the woods. Had fun watching N'Keal Harry all these last 4 years. But let me ask you the question: what is the Cardinal fan base down there? How were they feeling? I mean, they didn't have a lot of time to get attached to Josh Rosen. They didn't have a lot of success. Has the fan base been excited about the specter of Kyler Murray perhaps coming to the Valley of the Sun there?
Yes, they are excited because all they've heard about Kyler Murray for the last 3 months is that he's at another level in terms of potential than Josh Rosen. And certainly what happened last year in a 3-13 season, it's not all on Josh Rosen. He didn't have much of an offensive line. There was a great deal of turmoil regarding the coaching staff. There were defensive deficiencies. So the struggles were not Rosen's fault, but you know how fans are. If a team is struggling, the quarterback gets put in the spotlight as being the guy that you pin the blame on. And so I think they look at Kyler Murray like, here's this exciting quarterback. He's a bit like a Jared Goff or a bit like a Russell Wilson. And you're in a division with both those guys. And so I think the fan base is saying, look, we want somebody like those two guys. Josh Rosen isn't like a Goff or a Murray. And they would rather have a guy that resembles more two of their main competitors in the NFC West.
Jeff Munn joining us live from Phoenix, Arizona, watching the Cardinals for us. Jeff, if Harry comes off the board later on, expect another call from us. All right, friend?
You got it.
All right, Jeff, appreciate the time. As we didn't get a lot of time to talk about Nick Bosa coming on board. The San Francisco 49ers with the Jets on the clock. They have about 3 minutes left. Looks like they're going to take the entire time. And I know Tony Cordasco, the Don of Las Vegas Sports, will want to talk a little bit more about the Jets. But, Kelly, I want to look at you and talk about Nick Bosa and the impact he can make immediately for San Francisco.
Well, it's not at this point, it's not just Bosa. It's also Dee Ford, who they traded for. Your biggest weakness in that team was their edge rushing, and they've completely revamped that just right off the bat. They're going to have pressure. It's going to take pressure off their secondary, which is now their weakest spot on their defense. But Garoppolo, if he comes back healthy, the offense is going to be good. They had a bad record, but towards the end of the year they started coming together. You've got Kittle, you've got 14 running backs back there now. So the offense will be good. The added pass rush is going to completely change that defense. And it's the NFC West, so it's a tough division. But you could see them fighting for 8-8, 9-7 to maybe get in a wild card position just by adding Bosa, because he's the cleanest prospect in this draft. You know exactly what you're getting and exactly what he's going to do. You can look at his brother and he was actually a higher rated player coming out of high school than his brother. So if you get 80% of what you got from Joey, you're happy with that in the second pick of the draft.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. As we transition quickly here from Bosa to, I guess, the dominoes start beginning to fall. The Raiders are about 12, 13 minutes away from having to make their first of 3 selections. The Jets falling here, number 3, guys, can really set the table for the first pick for general manager Mike Mayock.
And to me, this is the first interesting spot because the Jets could do a lot here. We've heard, again, all afternoon about perhaps Oakland or someone else trying to move up into that 3 spot. So this is really the first time, I think, early in this draft where we don't know what's happening. There could be some movement. But certainly the Raiders sitting there, I know Raider fans are out there. They've had a lot of years of some some picks that didn't go so well. So everyone's very nervous in Raider Nation about it. But the Jets, Tony, I think have a great opportunity. They have needs too. And at the top of this draft, they like Quinnen Williams as well.
Yeah, and that's why if I'm the Raiders, again, at all costs, they need to move up. I don't know if it was smoke or not, but this past couple of weeks, in fact, in New York, they were talking about publicly, the Jets said that they would trade down. And if not, Ed Oliver is an option, Quinnen Williams is an option, and then Josh Allen, keeping him at home. He went to Monmouth College back there in New Jersey. He's a local kid, and they might have to go with him.
And we know the pick is in for them. Just tweeted out by two sources. The Jets couldn't find anyone to trade with them for the price that they were asking for.
Oh, if they take Quinnen Williams, that's going to be rough. That's going to be rough.
So. I think he's a great pick, too.
They just tried to throw Scrooge McDuck money at Anthony Barr, and Anthony Barr and Josh Allen are a very good. That's a very good comp for him.
The comparison.
That's exactly what they were trying to get Fridge, and they didn't get. They already have some defensive tackles in Leonard Williams. While I think Quinnen Williams is a better player, if it's a much bigger need for a Josh Allen type.
Leonard Williams has had absolutely no help on that defensive front, on the defensive line. And this is the bookend, perhaps, that they're looking for. But a guy that could have come out a year ago, right, as a junior, and he went to a lot of the scouts and talked to a lot of teams, said, what do I need to improve on? And he just became a monster. He was a two-star. Yeah. He was a two-star coming out of high school. And then his family had moved. They moved back to New Jersey, and, the rest is history. And it would be great if they do draft the hometown guy, too.
We are staying with you through the Jets pick, right on through the Raiders pick as well. We're not going to go anywhere, folks. No commercial breaks. We're going to stay on this as we wait to see who the Jets take with this third pick. And we know the pick is in, and it's raining.
Is it raining there? Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, they've had some bad weather in the South. Hope everybody.
That's me next year.
2019 NFL Draft. The New York Jets select Quinnen Williams. Nose tackle, Alabama.
Wow.
So he's off the board.
The best athlete available there.
He was like I've said from day one, he was my number one pick on the board.
Now, is my pick from last August, is that going to come true?
So Tony thinks Ed Oliver is going to go to the Raiders.
I said this back in last August. I said Ed Oliver, I thought he was going to be the number one draft pick at the time. Yeah. And I thought the Raiders were going to tank the entire season, I should say, and who knows?
Oliver's definitely an option. I mean, he would he'd be great at D tackle. But yeah,
I'm a Jet fan, but I'm hurting for the Raiders right now.
Quinnen Williams, though, big bad body. Aaron Donald comparisons, Kelly, no doubt about it. He could definitely help a team that, again, needs help all the way across the board. And my first check mark for them was defensive line.
Yeah, it was D line. Like most people were thinking edge. And like I said, the whole Anthony Barr issue was why I figured they may go with the Josh Allen. But they passed up on Warren Sapp to take Kyle Brady years ago. They're not passing up on the next Warren Sapp.
No doubt.
I think that's a more apt comparison than an Aaron Donald.
Oh, you weren't going to bring up the Dan Marino comparison of them passing for Ken O'Brien?
That's if they pass up somebody to take Daniel Jones. That would have been the next one.
Paul Ihander here with Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, and Kelly Kriner. We're live here at Born and Raised Las Vegas, just south of the 215. Off of Buffalo on Warm Springs. We have drink specials here tonight. $3.50 Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, $4.50 Estrella Jalisco, $5.50 Jaegers, $20 buckets of Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, $21 beer towers as well. Live on location for the first round of the NFL Draft here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Also streaming, if you're at work, you can catch us on CBS Sports Radio 1140.com or on the radio.com app. We are the designated Raiders Draft Party on radio.com, so you'll get the most Raiders analysis from the group that you're listening to right now. So if you don't have the app, get the app, radio.com through the App Store. Go in there and favorite us, CBS Sports Radio 1140, as we now have the Raiders on the clock for the first time, the first pick for Mike Mayock and his new regime, John Gruden. Not so new, but new to the system. An overhaul of talent. This can go a number of different ways. Scott, we have 5 minutes to hash it out. Who do you like here at number 4?
I'm torn between thinking that they may do something that's not surprising. They may take Josh Allen or Ed Oliver, as Kelly said a little bit earlier. because they have the needs there. If you want to get a player that's an impact player like that. But inside that room, we don't know what they love and what they don't love. They're both good players. You know that. But do they trade down here, too? We've been hearing more and more about that. Could they do that and mix down? Now, I think you should dismiss the Haskins rumors. I think that's ridiculous. I don't think it's going to happen.
What about Drew Lock?
And Drew Lock, the same thing. I don't think they're going after quarterback. I get called out on our show all the time for being a Carr apologist. But you know what? I don't think that is a need now. You have Carr right now, and you're rolling with him. So to me, defense, I've said all along that actually all 3 picks in the first round should be defense. That depends on who's – that's based on, hey, the name's out there. But guess what happens? When the draft starts rolling along, things change. If there's a great player down at the bottom of the first round and they keep those picks and he's an offensive player, you take him as well. But, Kelly, I really think here that you go with one of those guys on the defensive side up front.
Yeah, it's going to be. You know, they talked about a surprise pick. And
is that Devin White?
I was going to say it might be Devin White. He's a wrecker in the middle of he's a wrecker in the middle of that linebacking core. But as I've been told by every Raider fan since I started doing the show, Gunther's system doesn't value linebackers. You have to have linebackers in football nowadays because you've got so many guys going over the middle, so many guys in that area. If they can't go sideline to sideline and make tackles, you're just going to get picked apart. I think it's Oliver. I think they go Oliver. I think they're still looking D-tackle. You know, Allen wouldn't be that out there. But I'd say that if I'm in that room right now, I'm on the phone. I'm seeing what I can get for 4.
Well, and the information we're still getting, and it's still out there, is the Washington deal, that they might trade down with Washington because the Redskins want a quarterback. They want to move up and make sure they can get it. It's reported to be Haskins. And now, unless they're trying to get Josh Rosen, or maybe they like Drew Lock, who knows. But that game of them trying to get ahead of the Giants, NFC East stuff, that could happen here too. I don't think so. I think the price is going to be really high. Then again, it's Daniel Snyder, and anything can happen.
Looking at the Raiders' Twitter right now, if you go by the fan base that's been tweeting out since the Raiders put out their tweet saying we're on the clock, they're leaning towards Josh Allen of LSU. And what makes Allen a special player besides a linebacker of LSU? Yep. They like him as well because he's athletic and speedy. But if you look at Josh Allen, you look at an edge rusher. Again, another SEC guy. I like Allen just based on length, based on how he can pursue. And I think there's something special that happens with edge rushers that, you know, they make when you find that perfect playmaker, and you know a lot of folks are looking for that. And I don't know why the NFL Network is at Legend Sports Bar. They should be here at Born and Raised LV.
It's pretty dead there. I don't know what they're doing. It's not dead here. We have a full house.
I'm going to stand up. Raiders fans in here right now.
I got him. All right. There we go. See? There's more.
So we have some Bay Area fans here, too.
I like your method of polling.
Listen, I just saw a dead house wherever the NFL Network set up its Ring camera, and we're here at Born and Raised LV, where we have not just Raiders fans, not just San Francisco fans, Giants fans here, Seahawks fans are here. They're here to be a part of, again, what we've talked about earlier in this program, Christmas night for GMs and Christmas night for fans. There's no doubt about it. Raiders still on the clock. They are taking their sweet time.
Well, Paul, I'll tell you what, the interesting thing in doing a Raiders show, right, and Kelly grew up a Raiders fan, I did not, is no matter what happens with this pick, half of Raider Nation will hate it. It's an amazing fan base, the most loyal fan base, incredible fans, but it's really amazing to me how polarized they can be over this, and it's such an interesting piece here. I think the Mike Mayock influence, will we see that with this pick if they do indeed pick at 4? Again, I don't think we know that for sure, but apparently the pick is in.
The first of 3 picks for the Raiders tonight, 4, and then we have a little bit of a wait, but they are first-rounders, 24 and 27.
What do you guys think real quick? Josh Allen?
I'm going Oliver.
I'm going to go Oliver.
I'm going White.
I like Josh Allen.
All right.
Differing opinions.
It's going to be bad when we're all wrong.
A trade with Washington.
We have a trade.
Mm-hmm. We'll see here, but it's nerve-wracking. Raider fans have such a rich history of winning, going back to Al Davis and all of that everybody knows about, and 17 years with one winning season, right? And it's just been so long. There's a generation of Raider fans who've never seen them dominant like they were in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and so I think this is the beginning of that. People are very nervous and excited at the same time, and if they can nail these picks after trading Khalil Mack last year, if they can really get people excited on their way here to Las Vegas, next year when we do this show, Paul, and we're down on the Strip doing it or wherever we're doing it, we're going to be calling them the Las Vegas Raiders. This is the last draft ever for the Oakland Raiders.
Are we going to get Josh Jacobs later on, and then Noah Fant?
I'm not a big believer in Josh Jacobs as a first-rounder. He is the best running back.
But Gruden likes running backs, right?
And he's the best running back in this draft.
He's the only running back.
It's just a bad draft.
You had them at 35, right?
The 2019 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Cleveland Farrell.
Clemson.
Wow.
So, Cleveland Farrell is the pick for the Oakland Raiders. Farrell, not this high in many mock drafts that I had seen, and based on the reaction that we see and that we've heard, especially in the room that we're at, this comes as they mentioned about 24 hours ago, 4 would be a surprise.
4 would be, that's definitely a surprise.
Months ago, I mentioned if they didn't go Williams or Allen, Farrell was a possibility, but I'd had him falling 8, 10, 12, that range. God, he's got a great first step. He gets penetration on that first step, but his second and third, he gets very, very little penetration on that. He's got a real high floor, but I don't see a ton of a ceiling for him. He's never going to be a 12, 15 sack guy in the NFL, in my opinion, but you can pencil him in for 7 to 10 every year. Going to be really good against the run. And then the other problem I have is name the last good Clemson defensive end. It's
a shocker.
Well, they said they're making a surprise pick, and I am surprised.
I am surprised, too. Of course, none of us picked that. That's their first pick. I don't think anybody did. So there is your surprise. The reaction flowing in, of course, on social media is mixed. As I said, 50%. I don't know if 50% actually love it, but
you're not going to find a 50 that's happy with this.
Yeah,
I don't believe.
You're not, and it is a surprise. I mean, like you said, Kelly, the last time a Clemson defensive line, they see something. They see something. We don't see it, but then again, we're not in that room. We're not a professional scout. But this is clearly going to be, I think, something that is going to get people fired up for quite some time.
We had gone with 3 different choices at this table, gentlemen. Not one was Cleveland Farrell of Clemson.
No, we didn't ask Mark Bonilla here, our producer, or we would have known.
Farrell, though, rated fairly high. I mean, you're talking about 6'4", big body coming off the edge, 264 pounds, looks good on tape, played, again, you're talking about a guy who played on a championship team, who played, in championship situations. I mean, clearly, has the motor. He finds ways to get in there, but it's not a dominating way, I think, Kelly.
Yeah.
I think is what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's his floor is really high because he's always going to be really good against the run. He's going to be a great run stuffer. He's going to set the edge. But if I'm going 4, I want upside. I want more of that upside. I want more of that pass rush to where he could have one big season. He could have 12, 13 sacks in a season. But I think his ceiling's at, like I said, in that kind of 8 to 10 range.
I had him 16 going to the Panthers. It's kind of shocking, right?
It wouldn't have shocked me if he would have went to Detroit, but also he could have fallen to the late teens, just because, like I said, his first step's excellent. His second, third one don't make up for that. He loses penetration after those first 2. He's not a big speed guy, more of a bull rush guy that has some speed. But I just don't see the upside there for a 4th pick in the draft.
Yeah, and as I said, the reaction in Raider Nation is overwhelmingly negative, and I can understand why. To the point you just made, when you have a Josh Allen there, and you have, Devin White, and you go with Farrell, it's surprising, and it's hard to kind of connect why they made that move. At the same time, the Raiders apparently seem intent on breaking everybody's heart every year. So I think some Raider fans are used to it.
Well, and you mentioned about half the Raider fans hate the pick, half love it, but you got to realize we've been hurt and just crushed so many times by bad Raider picks. You just kind of expect this. I'm not saying this is a bad pick. I think he's going to be a very good player, but I'm trading down to 6, 8, 10, or 12, and I'll take anything. Like, if you offer me a third and I trade down, I still get the player I want and another draft pick.
So did he play? Did Farrell play? He was on that Senior Bowl squad, right? So they had an opportunity to test him out and, see a lot more of him, right? The Raiders staff? I think he played in the Senior Bowl this year.
I didn't think he was at the Senior Bowl.
No, he didn't go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm surprised they haven't shown it yet because it goes against one of the other guys I really like in this draft. I'm a big Jonah Williams guy. I'm surprised they haven't shown that one play where he just kind of, Williams was off balance and he chucked him
in the game,
because everybody's blowing that play up. Yeah, he got him off balance and he fell down. And it's like I said, I'm not trying to sit here and be the doomsday guy about this is a horrible pick. I'm just surprised because you've got the 4th pick in the draft. You've got a chance to get a high-impact player, and I think you hit a double instead of trying to hit a home run.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the war room of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is probably happy.
Well, now they're confused because they don't know what to do because they weren't expecting a couple guys to
They weren't expecting those guys to do that.
And many of the mock drafts that I've checked out and many of the prognosticators did not have Farrell going until the mid-first round, if not until late.
The Panthers were really keen on it.
He had been linked to a number of teams in that mid-range, but so far that's not going to happen. It's the Oakland Raiders pick. They pick at number 4, and that number 4 is Clelin Ferrell, the newest Raider, Clemson defensive end. And Raiders fans, you're going to have to get to know him real well because when you invest a number 4 pick in that, you aren't picking for anybody else at that point. You certainly are not.
I will have to dig out that tweet from months ago where I said that if they don't go that, they'll go Ferrell. I think they go Ferrell at 4. That looks really good now, even though I had zero thought that was going to happen, but nobody needs to know that. I'll just throw it up on my Twitter feed. Look like a genius.
And it's a little reminiscent of last year, of course, when they took Colton Miller much higher than anybody had them rated.
And they could have gotten him much later.
They could have got him much later, and they traded down, and then they picked him.
But in that situation, they did trade down, though.
True.
They got something for that and still got their player.
Right, but also...
My mistake, Farrell's a junior, right?
Yeah, he's redshirt
junior. Yeah, he's a redshirt junior.
Well, now the Buccaneers, who have a couple of minutes to pick here, as we've listen. There's surprise around this table. There's no doubt about it. I think there was a little bit of open jaw when that pick came down. There's no doubt about it. But the Buccaneers now have 2 of their favorites still on the board in White and Allen, and we know their pick is in. And the Buccaneers,
and Oliver,
to my accord, and Oliver's still there too. To my accord, though, the Buccaneers do need help in that scheme that they've got up front and in the middle. They certainly need some help there.
Well, and now what do they do next? I know we're waiting for the Buccaneers pick here, but Kelly, we've talked several times about using picks from next year. People forget about the picks they have next year, including the Chicago pick. You talked about maybe them packaging. Do they package some picks now, try to get a third rounder, a later second rounder, or move up in the first round again?
I think one of the last 2 picks is getting traded for more picks. Right. I've been.
But do they move up here?
No, I don't think they move up at all. And
for Tampa Bay's pick,
they just took Cleveland.
I'm joined by Casey Reynolds, a Make-A-Wish kid and a huge Buccaneers fan. Casey's been fighting cancer, and tonight his wish is to be granted to announce the opportunity to be granted to announce the Buccaneers' first-round pick. We hope this wish gives Casey the physical and emotional strength to face any challenges that come his way. Okay, Casey, now's the time.
Fifth pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Devin White, linebacker, LSU.
Devin White, yeah. There's the 2 Devins are the only 2 inside linebackers, right?
Yeah.
Him and Bush.
Mack Wilson at the beginning of the draft process had a chance to go late first round. He had a rough combine. He's fallen down the second mid-second. So yeah, if you wanted the inside linebacker, it's one of the Devins.
Yeah, it's a big drop-off after that.
5 picks into the NFL draft. Murray, Bosa, Williams, Cleveland, Farrell, and now White off the table. Giants are on the clock. We'll have that pick for you coming up next here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. It's round 1 of the NFL draft.
We're here with the Dodgers head home to host the Pittsburgh Pirates tomorrow night at 6 on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
We are on the clock. Round 1 of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
1 hour into the NFL Draft, the first round. 5 picks are in. The Giants are on the clock. Their pick is in as well. Paul Ihander, Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, Kelly Kriner. You would think that Josh Allen would be the guy for the Giants unless they go quarterback, guys, real quick. Anybody think they're going to go QB here?
I don't.
No, I don't. Yeah.
I think they're going to go defense.
I think they could surprise everyone and go with Jonah Williams because they like the hog mollies. They like to have a lot of depth and strength on the offensive line.
For me, an offensive lineman would be more at 17. There's just so much defensive talent on a team after trading everybody they have that needs defensive talent. That's more of a first round pick for them, in my opinion.
So maybe Josh Allen does stay home after all, right? In New Jersey.
Well, it could be Jonah Williams if John Gruden's doing the pick for him.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Daniel Jones, quarterback.
Daniel Jones.
Oh my gosh.
Jones.
There it is. Holy. That's incredible.
Gentlemen, the one thing...
My friend's a Giant fan. She's here.
The one thing about the first round of the NFL Draft so far, it's been all about surprises. Completely surprises. And it's Duke's Daniel Jones, who is going to be the heir apparent to Eli Manning in New York. Again, gentlemen, I'll flash back, but very, very quickly. We need to pause 10 seconds for station identification. You're listening to coverage of the round 1 of the NFL Draft on CBS Sports Radio 1140 and the radio.com app.
KXST AM North Las Vegas, KXTE HD3 Pahrump Las Vegas, CBS Sports Radio 1140, a radio.com sports station.
We are live at Born and Raised Las Vegas, south of the 215 on Warm Springs, just west of Buffalo. We are 6 picks into the NFL Draft. The New York Giants have dug into the magic hat and selected quarterback Daniel Jones of Duke. This table went defense, but I did pose the question, gentlemen, will they go quarterback with pick number 6? And they do.
You're scaring me with your clairvoyance. But no, I don't think any of us could have thought that it would be Daniel Jones. We've been talking about all week how we thought he was severely overrated. And if it was me and I was the Giants and I was going to take quarterback, I would have gone with Haskins.
I'll go as far as saying I think Eli Manning could throw the football further than Daniel Jones.
I'd heard they liked him, but you might be able to get him at 17. You might move up a little bit. But taking him you pass on last year's quarterback class and take Daniel Jones at 6. The best thing I can say is I heard a scout say, you know what you get with Daniel Jones. And yes, you know what you get? You get fired in 3 years, Dave Gettleman. You're going to be out of a job because this is a horrible draft pick at 6.
When you look at Daniel Jones, though, do you not see flashes of Eli Manning when he came out at Ole Miss? He's got relatively the same build. He has relatively that same arm strength as well, a tall pocket passer. He can work across the board. He does have very comfortable reads. When you look at him play, and we had actually had the bowl game on 1140 in December when he just threw for a quadrillion yards and set new bowl records in a smaller bowl, but still, you're looking at a guy who is prototype tall quarterback.
He looks like Eli Manning until he starts throwing the football. His depth of targets are really small. Anytime a play breaks down and his first or second set option's not there, it just falls apart for him. He's got to be in a system where everything's just set out for him. If he's got to think on the fly or if he's got to try to make a play happen out of nothing, he just folds like a card table.
But I don't have to think on the fly when I've got Saquon Barkley in my backfield. Hand it off. hand it off. Your entire first season, they're going to see what the Seattle Seahawks saw when the Seahawks drafted Rick Meyer back in the day.
Whoa.
Hand the ball off.
And how long did Rick Meyer last in the NFL?
That's very true.
Yeah.
The one thing that kills me is you're going to hear the David Cutcliffe factor with this. The last 3 quarterbacks that David Cutcliffe had in the league have 5 more touchdown passes than all of us at this table.
They're going to say he's connected to Peyton Manning, and that's it,
You don't
right?
get credit
That's
for
where-
anything Peyton Manning does. Peyton Manning's Peyton Manning.
Right.
A lot of mocks had Jones falling in the first round, but to the Giants at 17 and not at 6. We'll clearly never know if he would ever have fallen that far. But now if I'm looking at Giants fans, they do see their heir apparent. I'm not exactly going to say this is going to be the most enthusiastic, warm welcome for a guy like this. But do you trust the brain trust in New York to make that happen?
Well, see, and one of the things, too, we're just making fun, right, of his arm strength, but he did have a broken collarbone last season, and he played through it, and I don't know that was, a lot of information that was out there and was public knowledge, but he did.
Oh, no.
Jaguars pick is in. Jaguars are on the clock now. They have the 7th pick.
O-line or tight end?
Well, a lot of people have them reaching for the Iowa duo with a Noah Fant or a T.J. Hawkinson. In recent days, that's a recent trend, by the way. There are other targets and other needs, clearly, for the Jaguars as they rebuild.
And both those players are fantastic, but I am completely against taking a tight end. I don't care if you have a need for it or not, even in the first round. Now, at the lower end of the first round, perhaps, depending how things regulate. But to take them this high, I just think, philosophically, I don't think you do it. Name me a time when it succeeded. Not in.
Well, apparently the pick was walking to the podium at some point, and so maybe the commissioner had to backpedal or walk backwards. We thought he was headed to the podium. Jaguars definitely need some offense all across the board.
They got the card up there, and it said Blake Bortles, and they said, "Oh no, that's a mistake." Oh, okay. No, that's not what
No, it probably said Ed Oliver, there's no way he's still on the board. This has to be right. Go make sure.
Josh Allen.
Well, that's the thing. They've been talking about trading Telvin Smith, so, they may need some linebacker help. Daniel Jones.
That is a whopper, guys.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Josh Allen, defensive end, Kentucky.
He's their best available. You have to, right?
Especially with that defense. Their defense is already sick. You've got your quarterback finally. Just tell Nick Foles, don't lose us games. This defense will win some for us.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, defensive end.
He is going to be scary in that defense.
Love him.
He's going to have room to just roam around and just attack.
Allen, one of my top guys, there's no doubt about it. 6'4" and 7/8, 262. Tests off the board for me, finds a way to pursue, finds a way to make it, to get in position. There's no doubt about it. Paul Ihander, Scott Gulbransen from Silver and Black Today is here. Tony Cordasco, host of Saturday Sports Beat on CBS Sports Radio 1140, and Raiders draft analyst Kelly Kriner here, joining you live from born and raised Las Vegas. 215 south on Buffalo, west on Warm Springs. We're here live with game day specials. $3.50 Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, $4.50 Estrella Jalisco, $5.50 Jägermeisters, $20 buckets of Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, and $21 beer towers. Gentlemen, with the Lions on the clock, but without a need at defensive tackle, are we seeing the free fall of Ed Oliver, and are the Buffalo Bills primed to see him slip all the way to number 9 without having to deal any assets whatsoever?
The Buffalo Bills have Ed Oliver's name on their card, and they're standing at the edge of the stage waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, I put Bills, Ed Oliver if he falls in my notes. He's still out there. They had some talk about Montez Sweat, perhaps?
Detroit needs some edge. So I could see definitely Detroit going with the Montez Sweat. Before the shoulder injury, Rashawn Gary, as much as I'm not a fan of his, played at Michigan, so they got to see a lot of him. He was a possibility. The labrum tears kind of made him drop a little bit, so I don't see him there. But if there's one thing we've learned from Detroit is they're kind of like the Raiders, and you never really know what they're going to do. As tight end would be something they could really use, but after the Eric Ebron experience, I don't think they're going to go tight end this high. But yeah, the Bills at 9 are just salivating that Ed Oliver could still be there right now.
Let's talk about Jacksonville real quick with that pick with Josh Allen. Who does he get to learn from? Calais Campbell. That is scary. One of the best defensive ends still performing at a high level in Jacksonville, and he gets Josh Allen on the other side.
Well,
unbelievable.
As Kelly said, with as good as that defense is, and now adding Foles, because Foles is not, like Alex Smith, he's not going to lose you
Right,
games.
he's not going to hurt you.
He's not going to hurt you. He's not going to light the world on fire, right? But he's going to be consistent. He's going to drive you down the field, and that defense can do the extra lifting. And to me, boy, a great, just amazing fall to the Jaguars there, and really puts them in a nice position.
And you're going to see him play a lot of outside linebacker there as well, rushing off the edge there, because he did that a lot at Kentucky. And that was the thing. If you didn't think he was a set 4-3 edge, worst case scenario, if you draft him for that and he didn't quite work out, he was a first-round pick as an outside linebacker. That's how good he is in coverage. That's how good he is against the run. So you're going to be able to – he's a Swiss Army knife on your defense. You can put him in anywhere, and you know you're going to be getting pass rush, you're getting coverage. He's a 3-down guy. He's a 3-down player, whether it's at linebacker or defensive end.
You're listening to live coverage, round 1 of the NFL Draft. It's there in Nashville, and we're in Las Vegas, 3 time zones away in a much more air-conditioned climate, surrounded by NFL fans, which is fantastic, wearing their gear, cheering on their picks, scratching a few heads at the same time. There's no doubt about it. One of my buddies just tweeted out a 4-letter phrase, more entertaining than the Raiders did what? Would be the Giants did what?
Yes.
Two picks that seriously drew a little bit of surprise, but as we work our way through the first round of the NFL Draft, it is about need. It is about finding what you need, but for Josh Allen, as we just mentioned with the Jaguars, and we know the pick is in for the Detroit Lions right now, and they'll announce that when all the TVs come back, obviously. It's not like they needed Allen. They didn't need this guy, but when you talk about what's just out there, Josh Allen, Kelly and I, we might just chest bump here right now for the Jaguars. I'll put a Jags jersey on right now. It works. It just works.
You mentioned Calais Campbell. This now, I think they keep him for a year. You got to look long term. He's getting older. He's a salary cap casualty next year. You could look at, and now you have his replacement if you do have to move. If you do decide to move on to him for salary cap reasons. But you're right. He will have 1 year to learn behind him. They were talking about trading Telvin Smith, so that's a linebacker position that they kind of had to move around the linebackers if that was something that came about. Well, now they have a guy that can play either or on the field. So it's a great pick, and I'm sure they never thought he was going to fall there.
It gets back to the argument we've had really a lot over the last year as it related to the Raiders, but it's a general argument, which is, do you need a great defense to win in the NFL with the spread offenses and how things have changed? Do you need a great defense? Guess what the Jaguars are saying? Yeah, we'll do that.
What was the score of the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well,
no, I agree with you.
Few and far between where we see the defenses stand up anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I would go load up on offense. And, the Lions offensively, they weren't great, right? And if you put Trey Flowers and Sweat or anyone else, Ed Oliver, just someone that can help out off the edge, I think you've got a good tandem there, right, in Detroit.
Yeah. Detroit Lions have the number 8 pick here in the first round. We know the pick is in.
Iowa.
Oh. They took Fant.
Iowa.
Which one? We don't know which one.
And this, not a shock, but when you talk about the Eric Ebron experiment and they go with T.J. Hawkinson.
Yeah, they took Hawkinson. Yeah.
When they go with Hawkinson, a guy who stretches the field, a guy who can certainly make plays, a guy who can block, upside, one of that two-headed tight end, that Kirk Ferentz must be a recruiting genius when it comes to getting a couple of tight ends of the talent of Hawkinson and Fant. Yeah. But did you think Hawkinson would be the first one off the board?
I did, because you mentioned he can block.
Yeah.
You can keep, Noah Fant's basically a jacked-up slot receiver. Whereas T.J. Hawkinson's he's an inline blocker in the run game. You can split him out. And if you watch Iowa, whenever they needed a big play, they went to Hawkinson. They weren't going. Fant was the guy that made he made the highlight plays. You needed 3rd and 5. You went to T.J. Hawkinson, and chances are you got it. He's not as sexy of a pick, but I like it. I like it for Detroit.
Don't take a tight end in the top 10. I'm sorry. I don't care who it is.
And I agree with you. And we had this conversation on Silver and Black today last week. I am not a big fan of taking tight ends this early, but matter of fact, in the first round, just based on experience and based on history. But for the Lions, it's easy for me to circle this too. Detroit Lions needs tight end, linebacker, running back. And they went with clearly the top tight end that's in the draft, the top tight end. Perhaps it's come out in a couple of years into the NFL, or at least going to prove themselves down the line. He definitely has a lot of upside. And I'm sure, Tony, they see Gronk written all over this guy.
Yeah, and, he ran, a 4.740, I think, at the Combine, thereabouts. And, again, he can block, he can catch passes. I think he's very flexible, and he appears to be durable. And I was reading Bob Quinn, the general manager, his quotes earlier this week, where he was saying at this stage, in the draft where they were picking number 8, it's based on feel more than anything else. But, again, you have to go based on your need and then best available talent there, and I think it's a pretty good pick. It's better than the Raiders pick, I'd have to say that.
Well, one thing we can all agree on, it's better than the Giants pick.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, well, I'll nod my head to that one.
But here's the question. You do – we talk about this on the show a lot of Sundays. Yes, you have to choose for need, but if there's a better player available, you take him. Are you guys telling me that Hawkinson was the best available player? I don't think so.
Well, I know.
Are you that close as the Lions that all you need is a tight end and you're going to be a Super Bowl team?
No, but the best available player, in my opinion, is Ed Oliver, and where are you going to play him?
That's a good point.
You've got 2 guys that you've taken the last 2 years that are both playing extremely well. And I get it. You can have a rotation. You only have so much of a rotation. It was kind of the same argument with Quinnen Williams going to the Raiders, but Ed Oliver's he's not that much better from the guys the Lions already have as Quinnen Williams was and stuff the Raiders already have. So that was my argument. You could make an argument that Ed Oliver wouldn't start for a year or 2 on this Detroit Lions team, to where Quinnen Williams is starting the second he gets to Oakland.
Right.
So that's the difference in those two. But I mean, it's you make your team better, and you make your team better the second he's on the field because they haven't had a tight end. Eric Ebron just flamed out until he went to the Colts and he found Jesus or something, and now he's amazing. But you lost the wide receiver in Golden Tate. You're a team that's built. You want to run a little more. You get a run blocking tight end who's going to help you in the pass game. So I definitely. I mean, this pick doesn't surprise me at all. But I also see your point is. You just don't see the value at that position to be worth the 8th pick in the draft.
So Buffalo Bills on the clock. We'll pivot here with
taking this long for Ed Oliver's name to come up.
With only 3 minutes to go. Listen, Ed Oliver is a long name to write in Sanskrit. Paul Ihander alongside Tony Cordasco, Scott Gulbransen, Kelly Kriner here, enjoying this first round of the NFL draft at Born and Raised Las Vegas, where we have a full house. They definitely have packed them in here. Lots of fans here to watch. We do know the pick is in for the Bills. It sets up an interesting situation, guys. If Oliver goes here, there are still a couple of quality quarterbacks awaiting the Broncos at number 10. And we'll get into that once the Bills make their pick here. But Ed Oliver, a guy who is just a monster. There's no doubt about it. If it is him, he will be the man in Buffalo. He'll be beloved in Buffalo just based on attitude alone. He fits that working class philosophy of that city, and that's what will endear him to them.
I wouldn't be totally shocked if the Bills don't go offensive line here. They put a lot of money into the offensive line in the offseason, with Juwan Taylor still being on the board, if you want to try to shore up that, because you have your quarterback, so to speak. He was running for his life a lot last year by the bad offensive line. You've got to keep him healthy. So, I mean, I won't be floored if you don't see a Jonah Williams or a Juwan Taylor.
What about Andre Dillard?
I don't even get me started on Andre Dillard. When he gets drafted, I got a soapbox for you.
Taylor, a big guy, a big body, 6'5", 312 plus, so he can move. He'll move people and provide a lot of protection for the Bills' backfield. There's no doubt about that.
I'm wondering how much, the flare-up would mean to Applewhite.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Ed Oliver, defensive tackle,
Shocker.
Houston.
Shocker.
That took you 8 minutes, guys?
Yeah, exactly. No, but what I was going to ask is, this was projected to be a top 4 pick, right?
Yeah.
So how much did that flare up with Major Applewhite hurt him? He had really good pro day numbers and measurables. How much does something like that hurt him?
The flare-up's nothing at all.
Yeah.
Because you see that all the time in professional locker rooms. You're going to see it all the time in college locker rooms. The biggest issue that Oliver had was the brain trust at Houston to try. It's like, instead of having him shoot a gap, we're going to put him over a nose tackle. That's just ridiculously stupid.
Why are they it's ridiculously stupid. Why are they showing these players, families, horses, and I don't know.
Because it makes them human, Tony.
Okay.
It makes them human just like us.
Humanized.
Thanks for everyone joining us here. It is the first round of the NFL Draft here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. The Denver Broncos are on the clock, and we'll have that pick for you coming up next.
Hi.
We are on the clock. Round 1 of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Denver Broncos on the clock with about 5 minutes to go. A lot of options for the Broncos here. Paul Ihander, again, joined by Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, and our draft analyst, Kelly Kriner. Brand new head coach in place in Denver. They have moved on to the Vic Fangio regime in Denver. They do have a good solid core of young running backs, Phillip Lindsay, and they have gone away from the quick experiment of quarterbacks, and they could be in the market for perhaps another one, a young quarterback. But they do have a lot of other needs in Denver. They've got to think about some offensive line replacements. They do need to think about some linebackers as well.
Devin. They'll say, Devin Bush fits perfectly in the Fangio system. He's exactly what, if you can't get Devin White, in my opinion, the drop-off is minimal, if any, to Devin Bush.
And then after that, there's no more inside linebackers.
After that, there's people in like the third round you can talk yourself into. Mack Wilson in the second.
It's going to be Drew Lock. Because Daniel Jones went, so it just has to be.
So you're telling me that you would take
John
over
Elway.
3.5 quarterbacks to be drafted in the first round?
Yes.
There's betting on such nonsense here.
Yes, somebody took that.
Over? You took the over?
He may or may not be sitting at this table.
Yeah. And somebody had Dwayne Haskins wouldn't go 6.5.
I'll tell you
I like
what.
Montez Sweat over 10.
It's John Elway. It's going to be a quarterback.
John Elway has been searching for a quarterback. He is paid for quarterbacks. His drafting at quarterback, not so hot when it comes to bringing on guys who can run the offense, run the system, and honestly, there's a lot of legacy involved. And again, another GM, I'm not saying that John Elway would be on the hot seat for anything, especially in Denver, but a guy who really needs to right the ship in a hurry based on that fan base. They do not accept mediocrity very well. They could handle Tim Tebow. There's no doubt about it. I was there in the Tim Tebow years. I was there when Peyton Manning was there when he had 2 good legs. They've gone through Trevor Siemian. The Brock Osweiler, let's just call
experiment.
Let's just call that the hottest garbage ever. And then Paxton Lynch, the 6th member of NSYNC, could never get in sync in Denver.
He had the frosted hair, didn't he? You know what, though?
That's
John
good.
Elway, I swear, has, for those of you who have kids or grew up at a certain time, John Elway has a Where's Waldo book, and it's with looking for a quarterback. He can't find the quarterback. And it's a interesting thing. I think he's going to surprise us.
Wow.
And he does surprise us. Apparently, we do have a trade.
Traded with the Steelers.
And we'll have to get some actual information on this pick. The Steelers are now on the clock, but it'll be the Steelers taking over for the Broncos. The Steelers in this draft had number 20,
right? Yeah.
The Steelers had the 20th pick, so they've taken it from the Broncos, which I'm not sure. I'm not sure quite how the rule. There's no really rule. The clock doesn't reset. It just the Steelers will have the pick. It means they've dealt it, and we do know the pick is in. So this is a surprise for us. The Steelers have traded now with the Broncos and John Elway to move up to number 10, which means the Steelers love somebody.
A linebacker.
They love somebody.
Bush wasn't falling for them, so they had to come up and get him.
And they had like Greedy Williams or someone like that at 20.
They do love their cornerbacks.
And they do need a line. One of the needs that I had them for was linebacker. There's no doubt about it. For the Steelers, they just signed Ben Roethlisberger to the extension. Clearly, they're trying to surround him with whatever they can. Defense, that priority, because they have to be in a win-now mentality when you sign Roethlisberger to that kind of money.
Yeah, I think, and it's Pittsburgh. They like their defense, and it's been rumored for the last week that they were enamored there with Bush. So I think that's where they go here. I'd be shocked if they go any other direction.
A major move made by the Steelers.
Traded the 10th pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers. For Pittsburgh's pick, please welcome back to the stage 1979 Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year, Hall of Famer and Steeler legend, Joe Green.
Thank you. With the 10th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Devin Bush, linebacker, Michigan.
Devin Bush is the pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they trade up to take the Broncos' 10th pick. Also, here's the details on that one. The Steelers also hand over number 52 in round 2, and then next year's 3rd round pick. So that's the move. Steelers move to number 10 to select Devin Bush, the linebacker out of Michigan. They deal with the Broncos. Broncos move down to number 20, and then they will also get number 52 and a 3rd round pick in 2020. It's clear the Steelers had somebody in mind, and as that name kept coming down the board, gentlemen, they pulled the trigger in the most major way possible.
And that's what you have to do. If there's somebody out there that you just absolutely love, you have to go up and grab them. You know, you can't take the chance of them falling down. And we saw that at 3 and 4, which, I mean, they were talking about the Raiders moving up to 3 to get Williams. Maybe Farrell was the pick the whole time. Maybe we had that. But they may have missed out on their guy. This wasn't going to happen to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, their biggest need was probably middle linebacker, and they've got the second best guy. And like I said, the drop-off from one Devin to the other is not nearly as big as a lot of people think.
We had the right player and the wrong team, right?
Yeah. But you know, the to your point, Kelly, about going up and getting your guy. If he's your guy, you got to go get him. Right. With Farrell, maybe they felt like, I mean, everyone else out there thought, hey, listen, the Raiders, he could fall in the mid first round, 15, 18, somewhere around there. But that's outside perspective. Inside, you don't know what's going on. If that's your guy, obviously he was their top guy on the board.
Yeah.
That was not selected yet. So, but here with Bush, I love this for them, not only for the reasons you said, but I think personality-wise, demeanor-wise, he's going to fit really well in Pittsburgh. It's the kind of pick that fans there are going to love as well, and he's just a hell of a good ball player.
Led the team in tackles at Michigan for 2 seasons. 5'11", so there's a powerhouse package that has to come with that. He makes it up certainly with closing speed, definitely makes it up with just pure athleticism. Steelers definitely enjoyed that. So as we pivot from one AFC Central team to another AFC Central team, the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a team, again, another offseason coaching change, a quarterback in Andy Dalton who still has viable threats on the outside. You do not discount who is out there, who he can spread the offense around to. But do the Bengals now address needs that they have on defense to help shore up the Bengals? Again, if you don't make the playoffs, you need help everywhere, but there are specific areas of need for them. Or is it finally time to go, we need to find someone that can step in for Dalton?
You now know why Devin Bush, or they traded up to get Devin Bush. He was going to Cincinnati. That's the most Cincinnati pick there ever was. Middle linebacker for them is the easiest thing to stick in there. Now you don't know. I mean, at what point are they tired of the Andy Dalton era? You know, is this a Dwayne Haskins spot because they, Ohio guy, born and raised, local kid, had a good run at Ohio State, but they do. I mean, they need help pretty much everywhere.
So I think they're going to go Andre Dillard here. on offensive tackle because they need help up there. Dalton's going to be their guy, at least for and they can wait on quarterback. So to me, I think that would be a great pick for them here on offensive tackle because they need help up front. But we've been hearing a lot about quarterbacks with them, so who knows?
Yeah, the needs were inside linebacker, which now is off the board, quarterback, offensive line. Could they go with an O-lineman here?
Could this be the most boring pick of the NFL draft with an offensive lineman, with a very, but again, an off-season change when it comes to coaching. We do know the pick is in for Cincinnati. An off-season change for coaching, certainly a team that is in flux and an organization that's looking to get back on the right side of things and get that momentum back. We're just waiting for the commissioner now to get to the podium. We do have a live feed from Roger Goodell in Nashville, Tennessee.
See, in the last pick, Joe Green announced it for the Steelers. He should have had a jersey. He should throw it to the commissioner and say, "Here, kid."
Yeah, but the commissioner, did you notice, did not even announce him as mean Joe Green. Just Joe Green.
He probably doesn't realize.
He probably doesn't realize how mean he really is.
Maybe he's changed in his old age and he's not mean anymore.
Bengals with pick number 11 in the first round of the NFL draft. We had a trade out of number 10.
I'm not surprised that there's been a lack of trades with the defensive talent at the top of the draft thus far. When with some of those players you had up
with
there,
the 11th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Jonah Williams, tackle, Alabama.
So I was right about the position, wrong about the player.
Well, the Bengals decided to take the best offensive tackle in the draft, unlike what a lot of other people are saying.
Yeah.
The guy's played for 3 straight years in Alabama in the SEC. All these great defensive players we're talking about in this draft, he's blocked them all, and he blocked them all very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they talk about the short arms being his biggest issue, and yet they say Andre Dillard is the best pass blocking tackle. His arms are shorter than Jonah Williams, so I don't know where all this thing comes from. The guy's a technician. He's a mauler. You're going to put him at right or left tackle, and for the next decade, you've got your position set.
But, Kelly, a lot of folks do believe that he might be a better guard at this level than he is an offensive tackle. Do you agree?
Oh, no. He's a left tackle. And worst case scenario, he's a right tackle. But if you have a tackle and you put him at guard, he's a Pro Bowl guard. The guy's going to be able to play any position on the line, and he's going to play it extremely well. But I think he has to fail at tackle before I move him anywhere else. You have to show me you can't do that, because for 3 years he's showed you he can in the SEC.
Well, and I did my next to impossible Raiders mock draft where I had them choosing Jonah Williams late in the first round. He was never going to get there. But my point is exactly that. He's that good. He can play anywhere. He's got to play tackle in my view as well, Tony. But if you have to move him out there, you can. And he's that good. He's that talented. And the ability to move him around is a big plus because you don't know what's going to happen.
We're now 1/3 of the way through the NFL draft. Round 1 complete. Pick 11 is Jonah Williams, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. The Packers are on the clock. We'll have that pick for you. Coming up next, you're listening to the NFL Draft on CBS Sports Radio 1140 and live on the radio.com app.
Join us every Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. for Las Vegas's only all-Raiders sports talk show, Silver and Black Today. With guests, analysis, and our opinions, you can join us every Sunday to talk Raider football. Every Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. on CBS Sports Radio 1140 a.m.
Silver and Black Today, powered by Labor Union Local 872. Vegas strong, union proud. And the law offices of Michael A. Toriano, your legal expert for criminal defense matters.
CBS Sports Radio.
We are on the clock. Round 1 of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Live at Born and Raised, Las Vegas. 215 south on Buffalo, west on Warm Springs. We have a packed house of NFL football fans. Many in jerseys, many in T-shirts wearing their logos. As Green Bay is on the clock, we do know that 11 picks have come before them. The last one by the Bengals is Jonah Williams, the offensive tackle out of Alabama, ranked by many the top offensive lineman available in the NFL draft. Paul Ihander, Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, and Kelly Kriner all here. We do have game day specials while we are here on location for the draft. So if you need some of that action, we do have some pops. I guess we could call them pops. Adult pops. $3.50 Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, $4.50 Estrella Jalisco, $5.50 Jägermeisters, $20 buckets of Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, $21 beer towers. And some of you who have been staying with us for the first 11 probably need more than one, and that's okay. We just want to remind you to be responsible, as your teams may or may not have pleased you. But as we get
unless you're a Jets fan, then you're very happy.
Unless you're a Jets fan. Raiders, to recap for you, the number 4 pick for the Raiders was Clelin Ferrell, defensive end out of Clemson, which caused a little bit of silence at this table. But the Raiders do have 2 more picks for general manager Mike Mayock at number 24 and number 27 at this time. So we do know that those are still available for the Raiders. The Raiders are already pushing things out on social, talking about Clelin Ferrell, the number 4 pick in the draft. Number 1 pick, to recap for all of you, Kyler Murray, the quarterback out of Oklahoma, went to Arizona. Nick Bosa, the defensive end from Ohio State, went to the 49ers. And the New York Jets picked Alabama defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. We've had 1 trade here in the first round, and that was Denver and Pittsburgh swapping first-round choices. Pittsburgh moved up to number 10 and chose the Michigan linebacker Devin Bush.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Rashawn Gary, linebacker, Michigan.
That's a shocker.
Wow. Yeah.
Gentlemen, shocker, immediately, Scott.
Rashawn Gary, who was actually someone that was the Raiders were purportedly interested in. A lot of folks were picking him to go there. I think, I don't think he played that well, that consistently at Michigan to warrant where he's at in this pick, or even in the top end of the first round at all.
Especially after all the money the Packers just went out and spent in free agency on the defense.
Right.
You've got needs on the offense in Green Bay. You've got to keep Aaron Rodgers healthy. You've got to get him some weapons. This is he's the poster child for promise over production,
right? Because
he was the number 1 high school recruit coming out as a defensive tackle. They moved him to D-end, and he shows flashes, but there's no way I'm taking this guy in the top of the first round. He's got a torn labrum, which is going to need surgery before, maybe before the season, maybe after the season. I understand why people like him. I just don't see how you can watch the tape and be like, this is a top 12 guy.
And Tony, you do play-by-play of college football. Is this a case of a guy just overhyped because he went to Michigan?
Could be. I heard Mo Hurst say that he would like to have played alongside of him, but he said that they would feed off of each other. But I'm definitely surprised, to your guys' point. Noah Fant, I thought, could have been better. Again, a blocking and a good pass-catching tight end. And Jawan Taylor, I think, was also earmarked the Florida offensive tackle. And, what's surprising to me is that the Packers don't have another pick now until number 30. So they had to come here with a big pick, to fulfill a need. They don't pick for a while now, so I'm kind of perplexed in that draft selection. And it's not the first time I said that I'm kind of perplexed tonight.
All Big Ten selection. Rashawn Gary in Michigan, 2-time.
They're showing the Brown
Packers.
Jug, the bar in Michigan, and they did not look very excited.
They seemed a little lukewarm.
Even though it's one of their guys.
They seemed a little lukewarm.
They're always happy in Green Bay because the beers and brats are always flowing.
There's no doubt about that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out for them. Dolphins now on the clock with 5 minutes left to go. Another team that traded away or let its starting quarterback. Traded away its starting quarterback.
Well, they got something
Ryan
for something
Tannehill.
they were throwing away.
Right. So in terms of Miami, where do they go from here? I've got, in terms of needs, quarterback.
Well, I think they're going to tank it this year, right? Because you've got Tua coming out next year. You've got Herbert. I think they're going to tank it. They've got a serviceable quarterback in Fitzpatrick.
But they've got a quarterback in Fitzpatrick that wins you just enough games to draft 5th.
Right.
Which means you're going to
get one of those guys, right?
Well, no, which means you might not.
You might fall right out.
You're thinking that they're going to win too many games.
But Kelly, is this a place where you see Dillard go now that we've seen Jonah Williams go?
They've drafted offensive line forever, and they never seem to get it right. So it's constantly a need for him. Laramie Tunsil at left tackle is a good enough left tackle. He's better than anybody left in this draft, in my opinion. So you're set there. But this is the worst roster in the NFL, and it's not even close. If you take away Minkah Fitzpatrick, Xavier Howard, and Laramie Tunsil, there's not another single player that anybody in the league's like, I want that guy on my team.
Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
Kenyon Drake.
You could get Kenyon Drake for a third-round draft pick in 30 seconds. So Miami's just taking their best, whoever they have as their best player, they have to take because they need talent. No one player in this draft period, let alone at 13, is going to change this team.
I think people, you mentioned it, I think people think that they're going to go with Haskins here. It's been the call for a long time. A lot of people had him slated there, but I don't know, with all the needs they have, to Tony's point, you have the bigger quarterback class next year. Now, things could change, but I don't know.
I'm going to go defense here, and I had in my notes, I said if Rashawn Gary is still around, you might want to go after him, or because Brian Flores, right, defensive coach, defensive coordinator with New England, you have a feeling he might go defense, and I've got Christian Wilkins penciled in there.
That's a good one.
D-tackle is an area they could definitely use him. I've said for months that Drew Lock just looks like a Dolphin to me. So if Drew Lock goes here, I won't be shocked.
Okay, so as we see the Dolphins pick,
what does a Dolphin look like?
As we see the Dolphins pick coming in, we're seeing the slide of Montez Sweat, a defensive end, a need for Miami. Reports out today that the combine tests weren't accurate and that the heart issue isn't an issue after all, but still might be freaking teams out. But the Dolphins could use an edge rusher.
Yeah, and the heart issue that's not really a heart issue helped the Raiders last year, right? With Maurice Hurst. I think here too, though, it'll be interesting because one of the other guys I think looks like a Dolphin is a guy who's in Phoenix right now. And that's Josh Rosen. So if they don't go quarterback here, maybe they're a player there. But I like your call with defensive end. Maybe they go Sweat.
Brian Burns,
too.
although
Florida guy.
But do you think he's too high though at a 13?
Oh no, I take Brian. I
love him.
If I'm choosing between those two, I'm probably taking Burns over Sweat. I wouldn't say Sweat's starting to fall because the teens to 20s was kind of where he was going to be. Him being a top 5 or 6 pick was just that combine hype that was never going there. I actually had Sweat at 24 in my first mock for the Raiders back in, and I figured he would be in that early, late teens, early 20s. Then he blew up the combine, which I wasn't totally expecting.
Right.
So I wouldn't say he's falling yet. Oh, his combine was insane.
Yeah, it really was. And once you have those rumors out about a heart issue, then it's hard to reverse it. As you guys were saying,
with the 13th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. The Miami Dolphins select Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle.
I got one right.
Clemson.
I got one right.
And that was one of those names that had been linked to Miami in recent days, and it will certainly help them. You know that the Dolphins have a history with defensive tackles. They know how to raise them right there.
He's a mammoth man, athletic as all get out. He's going to be a run-stopping kind of guy that's going to get some penetration in the backfield.
How far is that walk to the podium?
That's what I'm saying. It's like where.
Listen, isn't why we did 40 times right at the combine? It was specifically for this.
They could have done them now.
Well, at least he does not have a horse. We know that.
Well, if he had one, he'd get up there sooner. But yeah, this is probably a situation where this was best player available. Like, I don't know if they may have kind of zeroed in on Christian Wilkins late in the draft. They may just be like, hey, at 13, we're taking our best guy. Because like I said, new coach, worst roster in the NFL. So, it's gotta love the celebration with the commissioner.
But Christian Wilkins, incredibly durable. Played 59 games. And so that means we are free of injury, especially when you're playing at Clemson, because you are playing every game when you are at Clemson.
Yeah, and you're playing extra games because you're always in the playoff. So you know what it's like playing against top. He's played against the top level competition, not only in conference but in football. because he's been to the playoffs so many times. I just saw they had a Gerald McCoy comp on there, which actually is a pretty good one. Now that I probably wouldn't have thought that. That's a pretty good one. You're going to see, this highlight, he just lives in the backfield,
So, Kelly, and guys, tell me right now, who's the best available now? You have Atlanta. They have interior defensive line needs, but do they go edge?
Well, Christian Wilkins was who I was going to, before this pick, I was like, Atlanta's going to run up and grab him real quick. Because if you have a chance to put Wilkins next to Grady Jarrett, you've got that thing set up. But now they've they're going to have several options. If they go edge,
Brian Burns,
they're looking. I think they're looking defense.
Yeah,
because their offense is pretty much set.
Yeah,
you need depth on the offensive line, but you're not taking a depth guy at the 14th pick in the draft. I think Brian Burns could be a scary guy there.
Yeah.
They could go cornerback.
That's where I'm going. I'm going with DeJuan Taylor or Burns there with this pick. I'm going to try to hit 2 in a row.
Yeah. It would be interesting if they do go cornerback to see which one of these guys they pick.
Look at these half-empty bars. Why don't they bring a camera here?
Bring them here.
Right.
Born and
we have
raised.
a full bar here at Born and Raised Las Vegas. There's no doubt about it. We have
Clemson, South Carolina, man.
We have been actually turning a few people away since we've been down here, and we've had a very healthy crowd. Lots of good fans here. Again, fans of all ages, sizes, and teams, which is helping here.
Well, whoever's Atlanta's picking, it didn't take them long to get it in.
Atlanta knew exactly where they were going. They knew exactly where they were going, and this is a team that probably followed its draft board to a T, knowing that they weren't going to see a lot of those guys in the top 10, knowing where things were going to fall as it came down to them, and address an immediate need for them.
Well, and there's but to your point, you're right. They weren't going to be in the sweepstakes at the top of the first round, but there's still lots of great talent left. That's how deep this draft is on the defensive side of the ball, and I think that they go that direction as well. And it's going to be interesting. You have this pick, then you have Washington and Carolina. Washington's going to be interesting too. Dire need of a quarterback there as well.
Is that where Haskins
goes?
Going there? Yeah, could be Haskins now.
Could it be Haskins now, or do they go a whole different?
Warm Springs game day specials in effect. Paul Ihander, Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, Kelly Kriner here for the entire first round of the NFL draft. We saw the Raiders select Cleveland Farrell at number 4, the defensive end out of Clemson. And we have come full circle at number 13 with Christian Wilkins, the defensive tackle from Clemson. And now the Falcons pick is in.
It's always heartwarming. I don't know about you guys, and maybe this is because I'm a father and you are too, Paul. I think Kelly is. He just doesn't know it. But anyway, to see a big man like that cry, get picked, and the emotion is remarkable, and it just tells you how life-changing this is for all these guys.
You're saying we don't appreciate that? We're still sports fans. We like the emotion.
No, I'm saying
I don't care.
We're sensitive guys.
I don't care.
With the 14th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Chris Lindstrom, guard, Boston College.
Top guard on my board. Yeah. I did not see him going at 14, but he does fit a need for Atlanta. If you're trying to keep Matt Ryan upright, keep that offense rolling, Lindstrom's going to be the guy you can plug in from day one, and he's a mauler.
Guard, Boston College, big body. A lot of people think he was going to slide a little bit deeper in this draft just based on need. He's got plenty of upside. Clearly the top guard in this draft by far. I mean, it's a big fall down to the next set. I mean, you're talking about 3rd, 4th round, 5th round guys. He was the guy that was going to make this move. One of those guys that had been linked to the Raiders in a number of recent mocks by a number of experts suggesting that they would go that way if he was able to fall to 24 to 27. Obviously, the Falcons felt that they needed that need, and we've been talking about that for the last 5 minutes, that they would address the offense.
I'm a little surprised just because he doesn't have scheme. He doesn't really have versatility like a lot of the other players. He's a guard. He's not moving to tackle. He's not moving to center. I mean, he's the best guard on here, but there are some guys a Dalton Reisner, some other guys that can play several positions that, in my opinion, are kind of in that same talent area.
Cody Ford?
Yeah, Cody Ford, he could play guard, he could play tackle. So the fact they went Lindstrom, I mean, they know they were set. We need a guard. We're taking the best guard.
Yep. Obviously weren't looking for that versatility of a guy who could switch out.
And he went to Boston College, so he's got that nasty edge that every Boston College lineman's ever had, ever.
Very true. Washington, who's going to – I mean, Paul, do you think Washington's going to go quarterback here? Do you really – I mean, they need a quarterback, but there's going to be guys on the market. Of course, you got next year as well. They have the stopgap. I don't think they're going to – I think they're going to go – they might go offensive line too.
I'm not sure if they would lean offensive line, and I pick up some of the what are the names that Andre Dillard of Washington State. Yep. If it is going to be an offensive lineman, that would be the play. A lot of signs, a lot of things that at least I'm seeing here in terms of the chatter online that it is going to be Haskins, that they do like Haskins so much that they're thrilled that he came this far down and they didn't have to, again, give up assets because they're in trouble. Alex Smith, obviously, that just brutal injury that he suffered. There's not a lot left in the hopper there, for the nation in Washington, D.C. They need something to energize that fan base again. There's no doubt about it. It has been hard times. And when you see they take solace in knowing that the Giants are kind of suffering as well. But when you see Philadelphia do as well as they've done in the Super Bowl, obviously the rivalry with the Cowboys, and they see the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, and the Cowboys get the jolt in the offseason with Jason Witten deciding that broadcasting just isn't his bag, baby, for him to go back and provide them with some new blood. It's got that feeling, or at least leans that way. Now, saying that, with all due respect to Dwayne Haskins, I do like Drew Lock. He's a cerebral guy. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. He can sling it down the field, played against good competition, and has a little bit more, I guess, of a career base to work with.
I thought Daniel Jones, if he were around, might be slotted there. I also have Drew Lock in the running. The needs are quarterback, linebacker, wide receiver. When does DK Metcalf go? And I am the biggest fan.
I'm a huge Metcalf guy.
Will he go to the Giants next?
He's been falling on everybody's draft boards.
Or a couple of picks.
I don't understand why. He may not even be in the first round from what you're hearing now.
Oh, if I'm the Giants, I'm all about him.
The whole wide receiver class as a whole is just falling.
Brown may go before him.
It's possible. If I'm Indianapolis, I'm taking A.J. Brown. You throw him on. Actually, I'm taking DK Metcalf. You've got T.Y. Hilton on one side, DK Metcalf on the other. Yeah. Just have Andrew Luck throw the ball in the air, and you scored 90 touchdowns. But like we're talking about the Redskins, Drew Lock's got that bigger arm than Haskins. He looks the part. And with Daniel Snyder basically taking over this draft room, nobody's got any idea what's going to happen. I would see Locke over Haskins if they go quarterback, just because Daniel Snyder's going to see the big arm, going to see the big tall guy.
He said he liked him a lot too, right, this past week?
His only problem is he could sit in a chair and find a way to throw off his back foot. I mean, his footwork is trash.
They showed Metcalf on TV now. That's funny.
Arm talent's amazing. Footwork is terrible.
The short-term contingencies for Washington, Case Keenum and Colt McCoy, not exactly scaring anybody. No. When it comes, it doesn't. There's no threatening words when you say both Case and Colt. They both can sling it, but in short periods of time. Over the course of a season, you have again short track records for both. And Case couldn't get it done in Denver. Colt McCoy hasn't had a chance to get it done, I guess, would be that for him. But based on the fact that weapons and wait until next year and put that quarterback on the board. And we do know that the pick is in for the Redskins as we wait for the pick in Nashville, Tennessee, where the weather has turned tragic. I say tragic, it's just terrible for Tennessee. I was there last year.
Happened?
I was there last year at this time. They run a half marathon, the St. Jude's annual rock and roll full marathon and half marathons there every year. It was beautiful last year. It was 45 degrees at the start and 70 degrees at the finish. Nashville is a beautiful city. Looking forward to when that draft comes here to Las Vegas next year. And hopefully it's not 92.
No, it's better to be 92 than raining here.
Yeah.
We'll take 92 any day.
On the Redskins, though, before this comes in, the draft ghost of Robert Griffin III is still very much alive for Redskins fans, and especially when you heard how the owner intervened and gave up what he gave up to get that pick. So I'll be interested to see if they're ready to get over that and go with a quarterback here.
They're going to take Locke, right?
I would rather have them take Locke. I like Haskins, though, but we'll see.
2 big arms still available. 2 quarterbacks drafted in the first round so far.
With the 15th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Dwayne Haskins, quarterback, Ohio State.
But 15 is higher than 6, so I'm happy with that for other reasons we won't discuss on the air. Quarterback's not a surprise. I mean, it's tragic what happened to Alex Smith, but that's sports. That happens. This is an Alex Smith. I mean, he's got a little more upside than an Alex Smith, but he's that intermediate passer. 10 to 20 yards, Dwayne Haskins is going to rip you apart. He didn't do a lot downfield at Ohio State because their offense was set up. When you got guys with that much speed, you're just getting them the ball and let them make things happen. Just because you're not asked to do something in college doesn't mean you can't do it.
Well, and according to somebody, he's a great running quarterback.
Yeah, and if there's one person that knows anything about sports, it's that man. We won't mention him by name.
But I think you're right. I think he's the kind of quarterback, if I'm in Washington, very much like Alex Smith, he's going to be efficient. He's going to not make big mistakes, but can get the job done. And that's what they need long-term for the future. Now they're going to have to, in the coming years, they're going to have to, Tony, surround him with talent. They need wide receiver help. They need help all over the place. But they're going to have to start looking now that they have their quarterback. They're invested for 3 or 5 years. They're going to have to go out and get the players to help him build that offense and take them to the next level.
Yeah, next pick probably wide receiver and then linebacker, which was another need. What happens now with Case Keenum and Colt McCoy? Does Haskins come in and battle for the job, or is this a guy that we're going to see in a couple of seasons?
I don't think they want Haskins to come in and play this year. I don't think they wanted any quarterback. That's why they went and they got a Case Keenum as a backup to Colt McCoy. Because Colt McCoy's great for 4 or 5 games, but he's probably going to get hurt and or knocked out. So you had Keenum as your backup, But we see it every year. Every team's like, yeah, we're going to draft this guy. We're going to sit him. We're not going to play him. By week 7, Dwayne Haskins is probably playing. In an ideal world, Colt McCoy stays upright, wins you 5 games, but he plays all year, and you give Haskins time to sit.
Well, let's talk to someone who knows about quarterbacks. He is a former NFL quarterback and a 1992 Heisman Trophy winner from the U. Geno Torreta joining us here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 here live in Las Vegas as we cover round 1 of the NFL Draft. Geno, we've seen 3 quarterbacks go in the first round with Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones to the Giants, and now Dwayne Haskins to the Redskins. Of those 3, who do you think has the long-term upside, and who would you play right away?
Well, I think I'd probably say Kyler's going to play right away, and I would think Haskins is pretty close behind. You don't get drafted that high and not get thrown out there quick. I think going into the draft, if I'm looking at least an offense that I would build and a guy that I would have picked would have been Haskins, the first pick. I thought he threw the ball well, great touch. Great velocity on the ball. He's got great size. I think good athlete to move around. A little bit surprised the Dolphins. I mean, obviously being down in Miami, the Dolphins were rumored to take him if he slid to them, but they didn't. So kind of interesting. But, of those guys, I like Haskins right now.
Geno Torreta is with us. This is Tony Cordasco, Geno, and I wanted to ask you for your assessment of Daniel Jones.
I like him. He's got good size. I just, to me, I haven't seen enough to where I didn't think it warranted the move up and where the Giants took him. But I think that the Giants obviously put a lot of credence into David Cutcliffe and who trained Peyton and Eli Manning. And I think that probably helped him to get taken to the Giants, but I think the Giants probably could have waited a significant amount of time and got them later in the draft, but that's just me.
Geno, Scott Gulbransen here. Thanks again for being with us. Now, Kyler Murray going number 1 overall to the Cardinals a year after they take a quarterback in the top 10. Talk about Josh Rosen, what you saw in him. He was on a bad team last year, but clearly he's got a lot of upside, and he's probably going to be somewhere else. How do you see that all shaking out, and how do you look at Josh Rosen heading into the rest of his career?
Well, I think this. I thought last year's draft, I liked him. He was one of the best in the draft. I thought he was, I would have taken him over Sam Darnold last year. I liked his arm. I liked his velocity. I don't know if there's some other issue with Josh Rosen, whether he's not a good locker room guy or whatever it is. But I think talent-wise, he has all the talent in the world to be successful in that league. I think that, the question mark now is with the Cardinals taking Kyler number 1.
In the 2019 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Brian Burns, defensive end, Florida State.
Type guy, strength. So, will they trade him? I would have thought they'd trade him before the draft, but now there's probably more of an impetus on the Cardinals to trade him. But you guys know, man. I mean, it seems to me like, at least in today's NFL game, you cannot get through a season, with just one quarterback.
Right.
This is Kelly Kriner here. I've got a question for you. You mentioned the Miami pick where they thought they may kind of go quarterback. Do you think they looked at their roster as a whole and decided that we have such a lack of talent everywhere, bringing a young quarterback in at this point would be detrimental to the future growth? And they're just going to kind of go away from that and start to build around it. So when they do make that quarterback, there's more talent around there to help him succeed?
Well, I would say this. You don't get the number 1 pick by being a good team. So, it doesn't matter if it's Kyler Murray, Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, it go down the list. You don't get the number 1 pick if you're a good team and you're one player away. So I think that it's just a situation where teams look at it where, hey, we have to take this guy. Maybe the Dolphins felt, hey, you know what? We feel good enough with Fitzpatrick on our quarterback. But, yeah, there's a ton of holes to fill, and we're going to go with what best player available, and hopefully that works out.
Former NFL quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner Geno Torreta joining us here on CBS Sports Radio 1140, lending us some of his insight, not only into quarterbacks but the Miami Dolphins as well. Geno, thanks for the time. Thanks for the time tonight, and make sure you enjoy the rest of this draft for us.
Sounds good, guys.
Geno Torreta here on CBS Sports Radio 1140, streaming live round 1 of the NFL Draft here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 and on radio.com. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification.
KXST AM North Las Vegas, KXTE HD3 Pahrump Las Vegas, CBS Sports Radio 1140, a radio.com sports station.
Paul Ihander alongside Tony Cordasco, Scott Gulbransen, and Kelly Kriner. And while we were talking with Geno, the Panthers were on the clock and made their pick. They took Florida State defensive end Brian Burns. And now the draft is half over officially. The Giants are now back on the clock. They have about 5 minutes to go. We're going to take a break, bring you that pick live as we continue our coverage of round 1 of the NFL Draft here on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
We are on the clock. Round 1 of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
New York Giants on the clock right now. Their pick is in. This pick for the Giants was acquired from the Cleveland Browns in exchange for one Mr. Odell Beckham Jr. OBJ is now in the CLE. Will the Giants try to replace him here, Tony Cordasco?
Absolutely. DK Metcalf, I think, is the best available talent there. He's just a monster receiver. I think he could add just another dimension for the Giants. And, I said if Jones is still around, maybe they pick him with 17. But we saw what happened earlier. And then defensive line is also a need, Kelly.
Yeah, defensive line's a need. Offensive tackle with Jawan Taylor falling from Florida, falling this far wouldn't be that much of a shock to me. Because Nate Solder, they paid him a lot of money a couple years ago, hasn't quite lived up to that. So you can bring him in, play him on one side.
But him and Hernandez played very well the second half of the season together. They started to gel.
They did start to gel at the end of the season, but you also got to remember with that salary, he's a possible cap casualty in the next year.
Now, in New York, I think the fans would love it.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if your guy can run 50 yards down the field when your quarterback can only throw 20.
Who's your quarterback, Daniel Jones?
Eli Manning, Daniel Jones, and one half dozen in the other at this point. The only difference, Eli's old.
Saquon Barkley has been known to throw a football from time to time, although he tends to run it a little bit better. But the Giants on the clock, they did pick at number 6 in the draft and took Duke quarterback Daniel Jones, which surprised a few, but was certainly a need for the Giants. And you're listening to the live feed out of Nashville, Tennessee, where Commissioner Roger Goodell has the podium.
Maybe Lawrence here. Olivier Vernon's gone. They need some help in the pass rush now.
By the way, some breaking sad news. John Havlicek passed away today. Celtics great. Some sports news. But the Giants have options here, right? So I think with that offense, I think they go with the receiver.
From Camp Humphreys in South Korea, please join me in welcoming members of the 2nd Infantry Division, ROC U.S. Combined Division. Among them is Warrant Officer James Benecke. He's a native of Brooklyn, New York, and he's about to make the Giants pick. Officer Benecke, take it away.
With the 17th pick of the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, Clemson.
There you go.
Second and none.
So Clemson, a third player off the board. Cleveland Farrell to the Raiders at 4. Christian Wilkins, the tackle, to the Dolphins at 13. And now Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, Clemson, going to the New York Giants.
This guy's massive, and he bench pressed, 250, 225, rather, 36 times at the combine. And he can handle the double team, suffice to say.
Yeah, he's going to be more of a, kind of a run stopper. You're not going to get as much pass rush from him. But, yeah, he's a mountain of a dude. You know, you're not going to be able to run up the middle on the Giants now. Like, they just compared him to Haloti Ngata. I think he's actually a little more athletic than Ngata was, so you're going to get out of him. But he's not going to be that type of guy that's going to be he's not going to be your primary pass rush up the middle. But he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to clog that middle, and he's going to be able to stop the run.
And a perfect guy for a 3-4 scheme for James Betcher, the new defensive coordinator in New York. A perfect guy. 342. I'm a combined 342. It would take, maybe 1.5 of us. But he's a monster of a man. And again, Clemson, you're talking about durability more than anything else. And a champion, so he knows how to win. And those are characteristics that come beyond the physical needs. There's no doubt about it. So he understands how to win. And a guy a lot of people think probably almost too gentlemanly to play in the NFL. A nice 340-pound guy.
And this does kind of fit what Gettleman does. He's a big believer in building on the lines. So go at defensive lines.
Hog mollies.
But who are your offensive weapons? You have Barkley and no one else now.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised, and I actually liked him to actually maybe slip to Indianapolis, who could have really used him there too. So I'm sure maybe there's some disappointment in that war room, but a good choice. I mean, you need help there, but I think you just invested. You picked the number 6 overall you picked the second quarterback in the draft at number 6 overall. And Kelly's right, Tony. Where are you going to throw the ball? They're going to address it later in the draft, clearly. But you're not going to get another first-round pick, and certainly there's guys there. We talk about DK Metcalf, even N'Keal Harry, who's more of a top second-rounder maybe.
Early second, for him.
But still, I don't know what they're going to do. You figure they trade away Beckham, and they need help there, but they clearly have a different plan.
But also on the defensive line, and that's exactly what they're doing. is just building up, in the trenches, I think, for the Giants. The Vikings are up next. That's going to be an interesting pick because they need offensive tackle, defensive tackle.
If they go anywhere but offensive tackle, their whole draft room should be fired on the spot. The Texans and the Vikings need offensive tackles. They need offensive line more than anybody else in this draft. It's the biggest glaring need. You paid a quarterback $86 million. You can't throw the ball when you're laying on your back.
And who do you like?
I'm still surprised Taylor's still on the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cody Ford's, who I thought was going to go there earlier.
Yeah.
So, he's also a possibility. But, yeah, like I said, I wasn't expecting Juwan Taylor to still be on the board at this point.
Andre Dillard is out there. Dillard. I've got a question about Washington State offensive linemen. Do they ever have to run block?
Well, that's the thing.
Good point.
He's credited as being the best pass blocker in this draft. Run blocking is not good because he didn't do it a lot. But if you look at who they've played against the last 2 years, the best defensive line they played against is Jalen Jelks, who's going to be a late third round pick or late day 3 pick. So it's like he's faced nobody.
Well,
Jonah Williams, he's a better guy in practice.
Yeah, but we've heard all week that the Vikings really like Ford. So I would think that
with
Cody
the 18th
Ford's
pick
he's a
in the
good fit there.
2019 draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Garrett Bradbury. Center, North Carolina
NC State. He was on my list too. Yeah, he's on my list.
That, like I said, offensive line, their biggest need. Garrett Bradbury's a stud. If you need a center, he's the best one out there, in my opinion. I tell you what, though, man, the Rams are really disappointed because there was not a better fit for a prospect to a scheme than Garrett Bradbury to the Rams.
Right.
And there was a chance if he falls, that would have been a slam dunk, home run pick. But yeah, 306, rangy, he can get out, he can move around. But they needed offensive line, so they're taking their best offensive lineman.
Another ACC off the table, but we've seen a number of SEC guys come off the page. Joining us now here during our Round 1 draft coverage on CBS Sports Radio 1140. He hosts SEC Now on the SEC Network and has sat in front of every SEC campus talking with these elite head coaches. It's Peter Burns. And Peter, when you see these SEC guys come off the board, first, let's talk about the number 3 pick to the Jets, Quinnen Williams. Just a monster of a man at defensive tackle, a guy that the Raiders had hoped to fall to them, but the Jets pick him up. What do the Jets get out of him?
It's funny. I was with the Jets fans at an event here tonight, and they were just going crazy. They were all checking their phone, like everyone across the country is doing if they have to be somewhere. And when they found out that it was Quinnen Williams, the amount of high fives that went out through the room were crazy. I mean, with the way that the league works coming up in the NFL right now, and a little bit more, athletic quarterbacks moving around in the pocket, you need a guy like Quinnen Williams who can disrupt the pocket from the get-go. I saw him do that against every SEC offensive line this year, and it's a kid that a lot of scouts and even Bama coaches told me, guys, that they thought that on a scale of 1 to 10, he's only playing at an 8 right now. And think about how good that is and how scary. They think it could be like a Glenn Dorsey and Ndamukong Suh, a guy that can really be a disruptor up the middle.
Hey, Peter, this is Tony Cordasco here in Vegas, too. And I wanted to ask, is there anyone that you believe might have fallen down now out of, the top few picks here in the draft? Anyone that you think that could be not a sleeper, but someone that could be going relatively soon that has not been selected yet?
You mean basically anybody that the Giants should have drafted except for Daniel Jones? Yes, a whole heck of a lot of names. Like, that was just the most puzzling thing that I've ever seen. But, to me, is another kid over that I covered in the SEC is Montez Sweat. I know that there were some red flags, talking about his health and maybe an enlarged heart, but really when enough teams did enough of the research, they were fine. I mean, Montez Sweat was an absolute beast, and to me, he was a top 10 talent that you're sitting there at number 18, and Tennessee could possibly look to get him because they need an outside rusher. So him and another kid named a sleeper pick is a kid named Jeffrey Simmons. Got injured in training for the NFL draft. Will probably not get drafted until late, if he even gets drafted at all. That was a 1-2 punch in Mississippi State, and great kids that I think that you're going to find some value. I would not be shocked if either the Titans or Montez Sweat goes, where I think they'll have some here in the next couple picks. That'll be a great value, as I think he was the top 10 guy.
Peter Bird's joining us from the SEC Network, host of SEC Now. He's actually in Branson, Missouri right now at a charity event helping out there. Joining us here, Paul Ihander, Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, and Kelly Kriner.
Yeah, Pete, I was actually just getting ready to bring up Sweat to the Tennessee Titans as another possibility. How far do you think Jeffrey Simmons is going to fall in this draft? Because to me, I would love to see him fall to the Raiders at 24, sit him, because you're probably redshirting him. They're saying he's ahead of schedule, he can play. But, I mean, this is a guy, I had him as a top 5 player in my board before the injury, and you're going to get him in the 18 to 20 range. But how far do you think he may fall?
Yeah, I mean, this is a situation where I think Simmons, I don't know if he goes in the first round. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, hey, listen, even though he's ahead of schedule, is there enough depth? I mean, look at what Clemson was able to put in their 3 first-rounders. They felt like there was depth at that position this year. I will say this about Simmons. Simmons it did benefit to a certain extent for having Montez Sweat on the other side and vice versa. But Simmons was a kid that I saw grow up. I don't know if you guys remember the story. There was a lot of controversy about him going to Mississippi State because there was a family matter beforehand, and this kid was nothing short of an A-plus student, an absolute community leader. So, again, I don't know if it's like a Lale Collins situation. Remember a couple of years ago with the Cowboys where he was a first-round guy and something happened. This was not physical, but more of a criminal case around Lale Collins that he fell and didn't even get drafted, and the Cowboys ended up getting him. Whoever is going to get him, you're right, you're getting a 15th pick. I just don't know if anyone's willing to do that in the first round because that's where GMs, guys, as y'all know, is make or break, and I don't know if a fan base wants to have a guy that you're not 100% sure you're going to get ready for the first round or ready for the first game of the season.
Peter Burns from SEC Network, host of SEC Now, joining us right now on CBS Sports Radio 1140 and also on the radio.com app. We are everybody who's a Raiders fan has been directed to us, Peter, in terms of our draft coverage. I know the Titans pick is in, and I want to have you hang on with us in case it is Sweat that goes to the Titans as we await for the commissioner to take the podium. This is a hometown pick that's going to happen here because it is in Nashville, and the commissioner looks like he's bringing out a number of local athletes.
Exemplify commitment to team.
All right, Peter, we've got the commissioner at the podium. Hang on.
Athletes. With the 19th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle, Mississippi State.
Right on cue. Go.
So, gentlemen, Jeffrey Simmons. Peter, you just said wow.
Good insight.
Yeah, it's a perfect time.
Peter Simmons.
Right down the pipe, guys. I mean, if you look at Simmons, I mean, the defensive tackle and nothing but a guy that can plug the middle. I know that they were looking at either Montez Sweat on the outside, and now they get a guy named Simmons. And again, I think this is starting to change what you're seeing from NFL teams right now. Listen, you get Kyler Murray going 1. You saw Lamar Jackson, what he was able to do in Baltimore this year. I really do believe that the NFL teams right now are not looking for necessarily run stoppers, which Simmons can do, but they're looking for a guy that can disrupt the pocket from the inside. We saw that with a couple of the Clemson guys, and now with Simmons. Just kind of crazy that he would go that high. I mean, that's shocking to me. I think that right there is right as much as with Daniel Jones, where I like a lot of Tennessee fans are going to sit there and go, wow, I can't believe that. And now it's all about the wonders of rehab and see how well he can play.
Peter Burns from the SEC Network, host of SEC Now. Peter, I know we got to let you go because we're limited on time, but we do appreciate the insight, friend.
Might be Drew Lock headed to the Denver Broncos coming at 20. So be looking at the former Missouri quarterback. I know John Elway was high on him, so we'll see if I'm there. So y'all have a great night.
Right. Yeah, we may have to call you back if that happens. Peter Burns from the SEC Network, and he might be right. If Denver leans to lock, it certainly could be the play.
I was getting ready to say, well, here comes Denver. It's Drew Lock.
Yeah, why wouldn't you at this point?
Yeah,
at 20, that's a good pick.
You traded down, you picked up extra assets, and you could still get a quarterback you like to 10. It's hard to just, no matter what happens with this pick now, it's hard to kill it.
Yeah.
Denver Broncos on the clock, about 5 minutes to go. We'll have that pick for you coming up next here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. It's round one of the NFL Draft.
Saturday Sports Beat comes your way each week here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 and radio.com from 8 to 10 a.m. I'm Tony Cordasco. We'll cover all the Las Vegas sports beats, the Raiders, Golden Knights, Rebels, Aviators, Lights, Aces, and more. Plus, we have the best guests in the business, insight, news, opinions, and updates on all the Las Vegas sports beats. Saturday Sports Beat starting at 8 a.m. on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
Powered by Laborers Union, Local 872. Vegas strong, union proud.
CBS Sports Radio.
We are on the clock. Round one of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
19 picks down, 13 more left here in round one of the NFL Draft. We are live at born and raised Las Vegas, 215 south on Buffalo, and then head west on Warm Springs. Still have a very lively crowd here watching the draft as the time ticks away on the Denver Broncos pick. They have about 2 minutes on the clock. The Broncos originally had been slated to pick 10th tonight. They traded out of that position, trading with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers moved up to number 10 to grab Devin Bush, the linebacker out of Michigan. The Broncos ended up getting the Steelers' 20th pick, as well as the Steelers' second-round pick, and then a third-round draft choice in 2020. So the Broncos now on the clock. Their needs, though, have not changed. There's no doubt about it. Regardless of at 10 or if at 20, they still have some issues on defense. Certainly a need to take care of some line issues, and they could use a tight end or two, but the word that we just kind of batted around here as well is quarterback, and we do know that the pick is in for the Broncos. Could it be Drew Lock, or do they go Noah Fant?
Yeah,
and everybody nods, but this is radio, guys. This is broadcast, so I need a. This is going to be. Hey, Paul, we totally agree.
Quarterback. I think it's Lock.
I think it's Lock, but
I think it's a lock.
Offensive
that
tackle
is
is not out of the question.
No. And what's interesting is we're now 4 picks away from the Raiders' next pick, of course. And if Noah Fant's there, could John Gruden help himself?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think if he's still there, that's a slam dunk.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. But this pick, the Broncos, it's like you said, Paul. John Elway's the kind of guy there and down, never going to lose a job. He's in the organization, especially after Pat Bolton with his illness. But he needs to hit it here. He needs to get. I think if he's going to go with a quarterback and he goes with Drew Lock, then it's all going to ride on that. And we'll see what they end up doing. But you're right on offensive line too. They need offensive line, and so don't be surprised if they do that.
Broncos about legacy when it comes to play callers. You bring in a guy like Peyton Manning. You bring in a guy to make sure that you're winning championships. The Broncos fan base craving a championship. They've got defense. I mean, there's no doubt about they've got some studs there. Some inner turmoil recently coming out, obviously, with Chris Harris today. Not necessarily the best timing for that. But the Broncos with a new head coach.
With the 20th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Noah Fant, tight end, Iowa.
Wow.
A crystal ball. I'll take that one. Iowa tight end Noah Fant, the two-headed tight ends in Iowa, so both are off the board. Kirk Ferentz's boys are now in good hands. His first one going to the Detroit Lions, and the second one now going to the Denver Broncos. Kelly, I ask you, is this the right pick for them at this time?
Well, it makes sense because Joe Flacco can only throw to tight ends at this point in his career, so you need a good tight end in there. But if you're looking long-term, I mean, they must really just have no interest in Drew Lock at all to pass him. Because you moved down 10 picks, you picked up more assets, it's the perfect time to take your quarterback. Right. You know, unless they're planning on taking their second and the second they got and move up back into the first, which is definitely a possibility with, let's say, the Raiders at 27 or the Eagles at 20, in that range. It's possible they may be planning on moving back up to try to get a quarterback again, but you can't look at this team and be like, yeah, we're set at quarterback, because there's a reason the Ravens got rid of Joe Flacco.
He's getting towards the end. Good quarterback, was efficient for them, led them to a championship, right? But at the same time, you got to get that. So now, what are the Broncos going to do? I mean, they're clearly going to wait on it, and it'll be interesting now though, because Locke's going to continue to slide. Does he? I don't think he makes it out of the first round.
And maybe the Packers. Later on?
No, they wouldn't do that with Aaron Rodgers. His psyche's too fragile. You bring in an actual legitimate backup quarterback, and that locker room's going to split even more than it already
bad
has.
As it is, yeah.
Someone's trading back into the first for Drew Lock.
Yeah.
And like I said, it may be Denver, because with the trade back, they've got the assets. 2 2s to move in. 201 is easily done in that late 20s.
And the Raiders could be their partner at 24.
I was going to say, and at 24 or 27, they'd love to move back.
Yeah.
The way
pick up that third round they don't have.
Yeah, so you're getting extra draft picks, so they might move back, but somebody will come back in for the quarterback, because that fifth-year option is so valuable for a quarterback.
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, the two top tight ends available in this draft. Still a fairly, I won't say a deep class of tight ends that are available to you, but to help us analyze that pick by Denver, he is a co-host of the Fantasy Football Now show, airing on regional sports networks nationwide. Also runs the Mile High Sports Radio franchise in Denver, and he's been at the anchored and reported and broadcast from the last, I don't know how many Broncos training camps. He's Nate Lundy live in Denver. And Nate, when you see Noah Fant come off the board to the Broncos, what comes to mind to you?
Well, I would say there were two things. First of all, I was impressed by the trade out of number 10. I didn't really feel like there was anybody that was a make or break for this team at number 10. So I've got to give John Elway some credit for moving out of that 10 spot and moving himself backwards. Now, I will say, based on Elway's draft history, I think that it was pretty easy to think that, something strange could happen with that pick. He's made some stuff that has had folks scratching their heads. But this is a team that has been in desperate need of a solid tight end, a guy that can be a playmaker, and so I'm really impressed by the pick. I had hoped that they would get a tight end at least within the first 2, maybe 3 rounds, and so I think this is the right move for them.
Well, what about? Hey, this is Scott. What about the situation with quarterback? I thought maybe they might go Drew Lock here, despite, as you said, their need for a tight end, but now they have more assets, as Kelly and I were just talking about. They could now move up maybe Oakland's a partner in a trade they could get back up. Do you see them maybe trying to do that and address the quarterback position as well?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. I think that, they know that they need to bring in somebody at a younger age. They need to draft a quarterback, somebody that they can develop and somebody that can take over the starting role within a couple of years. I think the real question is, was there somebody that they believed in enough at number 10 to be able to do that? I don't think that was the case. I think that's why they made the move that they did with Case Keenum to Washington and ultimately trading for Flacco, is because they didn't necessarily believe in somebody like that. And so, to me, that sets up an opportunity. Maybe you trade back into the first round here by the time it's over, or maybe you look at somebody early in the second round. We know through multiple sources that John Elway is a fan of Drew Lock. And so it could be a possibility that they try to trade back up to be able to get him. But maybe the idea of doing that at 10 when they traded back, or even doing that at 20, just didn't make sense. They may have belief that a guy like Drew Lock is still going to be there for them either later in this round or possibly even early tomorrow night.
Hey, Nate, this is Tony Cordasco. I wanted to ask you, and then further needs in the draft, offensive line?
Oh, absolutely. This is a team that's been trying to piecemeal together an offensive line for way too long. Obviously they drafted Garrett Bowles a couple of years ago, who I'm pretty sure leads every league of football in the nation and on a couple of other continents in holding penalties. So they're going to have to try to figure out a way to fix that offensive line. They let Matt Paradis go, who I thought was really a mistake for them to let him go. I think he's been a solid center for them. He's been an anchor to that offensive line. So, yes, that is a position they absolutely need to address as they go through the next couple of days.
Nate Lundy joining us live from Denver, Colorado. Nate, appreciate the insight, friend.
Absolutely, guys. Anytime.
Seahawks has been traded to the Green Bay Packers. And the Packers have their pick in, and we'll see where they go. So with Seattle now moving down, Seattle now holds number 29, and we're looking to see if it's number 30 that they get back for Seattle, which means they would have back-to-back picks. Green Bay moving up, is there someone that we see that they like right away?
They could go a couple different ways. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I would love to see DK Metcalf's name here, because if I know that I've got Adams on one side and then a burner with the build of Metcalf on the other, I've got the arm to throw the ball 70 yards in the air. Now I have a guy that can go get that ball when I throw it. I mean, that offense would be it'd be scary when you've got two guys. You can't double them both. You know, you can't really single cover Metcalf.
And Aaron Rodgers would be great with a young wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think he's proven that. So the Seahawks essentially make a couple of jumps here, right? Because they picked up the 21st pick right from Kansas City in the Frank Clark deal.
24 was theirs.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the later picks, Kansas City's.
The later pick was Kansas. So this was their original pick. But yeah, they are. They're stockpiling picks. Is what I was going to get at.
Seattle getting back Green Bay's number 1, and then they get 2 number 4s from Green Bay.
Yeah, stockpiling for sure.
So yeah, there's no doubt about that. And now we're hearing that the Eagles are now trading up to take the Ravens at 22. So Philadelphia moving up. So you guys take a couple minutes to adjust your draft boards as we await the Packers to make a move. And I'm starting to do a little bit of chicken scratching here myself as the Eagles move up. So now we have Green Bay at 21 and the Packers at 20.
Traded the 21st pick to the Green Bay Packers.
At the podium now.
And with the 21st pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Darnell Savage, defensive back,
safety,
Maryland.
I thought they could go defensive back here. I didn't think it would be Savage.
Well, he's been the big riser. Yeah. He's the one, a lot of the cornerbacks and the safeties are kind of scheme specific. Savage is kind of the guy that can do both because I think he had 7 interceptions in his career, but he likes to hit too. So he can go strong safety, he can go free safety, he can go either way. But did you need to trade up to get Savage at 21? I mean,
that's my question.
Yeah. Like for a guy that was a mid to late second round pick a week ago, to go all the way up to 22, we see somebody rise and somebody fall in the draft every year, and I guess this is Savage's year.
And Paul, you said Philadelphia is traded into the Baltimore spot?
And Philadelphia has moved up into the Baltimore spot at number 22. Again, waiting to see details on that one. The Eagles had number 25, so it could be easy play or not an easy play whatsoever. We'll start sorting a lot of this stuff out. We're going to take a break here. It's round 1 of the NFL Draft here on CBS Sports Radio 1140, streaming live as your Raiders Draft Party headquarters and radio.com.
We are on the clock. Round 1 of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
7:41 here in Las Vegas. In Nashville, 3 hours later as the night wears on. The Eagles-Ravens trade deal is done. Eagles are on the clock. Eagle 22nd pick and swap slots with the Ravens at 25. And then get 2 late-round picks, 1 in the 4th and 1 in the 6th, coming down the pike for the Ravens. So the Eagles think they have someone that they like, and we do know that the Fly Eagles Fly pick is in.
Oh, Kriner over here.
Well, hey, listen, I've got family in Central PA, been to Philadelphia. You know how passionate the Eagles fans are. When they make a move like this, they certainly have somebody that they like. We know that not one wide receiver has come off the board yet. We are 21 deep so far, and not one wide receiver has come yet.
Yeah, who would have thought coming out of the Combine where DK Metcalf was looked at as like Zeus on Olympus, as a god because of everything he did, his physique, everything, and yet we don't see it. But it goes to show you, though, right, Kelly, that wide receiver, it's a position you have to address, but with the talent that's been there and the talent that's on the board, it's just not the best wide receiver draft or for a guy that you're going to move up and is going to be a game changer.
Yeah, it's all like second day guys.
Right.
The Baltimore Ravens have traded the 22nd pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. With the 22nd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Andre Dillard, tackle,
there you go,
Washington State.
So offensive tackle Andre Dillard from Washington State. He is also the first Pac-10 player to be drafted here in the first round of the NFL Draft. And as you mentioned, Tony Cordasco, not too long ago, do tackles, especially at Washington State, actually have to do any blocking? But he's going to have to block for some really cherished possessions in Philadelphia, and one Mr. Carson Wentz.
Yeah, and Wentz for sure. And I had actually the Texans. I had Dillard slotted for, and the next pick I think is going to stay right with offensive lineman. You'd have to believe. I've got now that Dillard's off the board, Eric McCoy, the center guard from Texas A&M, rates pretty high. Alabama State's Titus Young, a guy that I really like that I think is an absolute sleeper. Greg Little from Mississippi. Little allowed just what? He allowed just 6 sacks in over 2,100 snaps the last 3 years.
You verbally took out the soapbox, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kelly Kriner.
No, it's like when you say he's a sleeper, it's because you watch his tape and you go to sleep because his hands are terrible. His feet are embarrassing.
Okay, so then how does he stop opposing defensive linemen from the SEC from breaking through? Only 6
Just because
sacks.
you don't give up a sack doesn't mean you're not giving up pressure.
I absolutely love snow highlights, by the way.
He's a great pick in the second round if you can sit there. You know, there was on Twitter today, I can't remember, it was an old coach said, his only problem is his feet are too wide. It's a 5-second fix. The guy's been playing football his whole life. Nobody had 5 seconds to teach him how to use his feet. Dillard and Little, in my opinion, are the two most overrated tackles in this draft. You know? And I mentioned it earlier, you brought it up. Does he have to run block? They don't run block a lot, and he's not good. He's not the best at run blocking. But in pass blocking,
it's a serious question, right?
In pass blocking for Dillard, the Pac-12 is so bad that he has faced no elite talent. So, yeah, his pass blocking looks great when you're going up against second and third string guys.
All right. Cody Ford still out there?
Cody Ford's still out there, yeah.
Oh, and you're going to like him, yeah?
I like Cody Ford, yeah. Because you can play him at guard or tackle.
Yeah.
He's a mauler. He's the kind
Oklahoma.
of guy that can swing in there.
Yeah.
You know, he's went up against elite talent.
Elite.
You know, and say what you want about the Big 12 secondaries. The Big 12 defensive lines aren't as bad. They face some elite talent.
Now, with Ford still there, if Houston doesn't take him and you're the Raiders, you need a left guard. You have a gaping hole there after trading Kelechi Osemele to the Jets.
Take DK. Put everything in the offense.
The ghost of
They'd be absolutely loaded up.
DK Metcalf. Oh, yeah.
Mentioned it on the show. DK Metcalf would have been the 4th pick, and they would have announced it in March if Al Davis was still around.
And just to let folks know, for the next 20 minutes, we will be going commercial-free as the Raiders do have the number 24 pick, so we will take you through the Houston pick here at number 23. The Raiders will be back on the clock at 24. Raiders had the 4th pick in the draft, taking Clelin Ferrell, the defensive end, out of Clemson. It is now coming towards the latter half of the first round, where the Raiders do have 2 picks. We have seen some incredible wheeling and dealing so far. The next 3 picks in order are Houston, Oakland, and then Baltimore will be on the clock at number 25. Paul Ihander, Tony Cordasco, Scott Gulbransen, Kelly Kriner here live, born and raised here in Las Vegas, 215 south on Buffalo, west on Warm Springs, where we still have a lot of fans here still hanging out with us, although it seems like the night's been getting long for some fans. See a Giants fan behind us, probably still not too pleased with the Daniel Jones selection, but maybe got picked up a little bit by Dexter Lawrence, who went at number 17. We do have game day specials if you are in the neighborhood still while we're here. $3.50 Bud Light Michelob Ultra, $4.50 Estrella Jalisco, $5.50 Jägermeisters, $20 buckets of Bud Light, Michelob Ultra. I say Michigan. It says Mich Ultra. I keep thinking Michigan Ultra is the newest school Maybe it's up on the finger.
They play Eastern and Western.
Right.
And
have you been to Kalamazoo? I've been to Kalamazoo.
In my defense, that's how it was sent to me from the county executive.
But that's bar shorthand. If you've ever worked in a bar, you know exactly what it is.
I have, but I'm in such collegiate mode.
No. By the way,
see, this is Bud, Louisiana. Louisiana Tech. Bud, Louisiana Tech.
LT.
It's a $21 beer towers while we're here.
Beer towers.
Imagine taking his drink order, Kelly.
And not only that, Paul, just a quick mention, the folks here at Born and Raised, amazing hosting us here. And by the way, if you need some dinner, the food here is unbelievable. The menu is fantastic.
I was told that. You guys all got to eat beforehand. I did not. Kelly, did you eat, though?
I didn't eat.
We'll make sure you get something to eat afterwards, because that's when I'm doing it, too. So these guys will probably do a round two based on the recommendation.
I've built up an appetite now.
Fruity Pebble French toast.
We do know that the pick is in for the Texans. The Texans 11-5 last year. And, again, when you talk about teams that have needs, the Texans, as I look, offensive tackle, certainly a need for them.
If this is an offensive line,
you have to protect Deshaun Watson.
He got sacked so many times last year, 62. He couldn't fly on a plane.
Yeah, he had to take a bus, right, to games.
He couldn't fly.
Yeah, he couldn't fly with his broken ribs and his back injuries and everything else.
2019 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Titus Howard, tackle, Alabama State.
There you go.
Well, Alabama so much for protecting
I threw him in there.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
Alabama State.
I had him in there. He was in the mix. Yeah. Alabama State's Titus Young or Greg Little.
I hate to talk bad about this pick because I really like the kid. Went to school as a quarterback. Put on all this weight to play tackle. Super athletic. He had one good game against Auburn. That's it. He's the competition he's played, like even at the senior, even at the Shrine, whichever, I can't even remember which one he was at. You saw some flashes, but he is not he's not a first-round pick.
Put on 87 pounds in college?
Yeah, because he used to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's what I said. Hate to talk bad about the pick. This is, I mean.
A little bit of a reach, yeah?
Reach isn't even the word. This is a dive.
Titus Howard, spelled Tytus, out of Alabama State, 6'5", 322. And he is the first-round selection and only selection for the Houston Texans in this draft, which now, gentlemen, means we have 7 minutes to talk about what the Oakland Raiders will do here at number 24.
Boy, there's a lot of things here, Kelly, too, that I think they could do. I still think one of these picks is going to be traded. They don't have a third-round pick tomorrow, and so I think they're going to trade one of these. But at 24, you have Metcalf. You have a bunch of guys.
Byron Murphy sitting there to me.
Murphy,
I
great
want
one.
him as my corner.
Yeah.
He's the best corner in this draft. He's sitting there at 24. He fits what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm running up there as fast as I can. I'm plowing over old people to get this.
What about a guy like a Justin Lane, too? But it's got to be someone in the secondary. Lane is like 6'2", very athletic.
At plate, and he was a former wide receiver, so he's got decent hands.
Yeah.
The big issue with this whole draft class is scheme-specific guys.
Yeah.
I don't like Justin Lane for what the Raiders are doing.
What about DeAndre Baker?
DeAndre Baker, I do.
Yeah.
He would actually be
That's who I had as my
he
top.
would be my second choice behind Murphy.
Okay.
You know, and you're kind of splitting hairs between the two. I think just Murphy's more instinctive. Yeah. But yeah, if they go Baker or Murphy, I mean, you're not going to go wrong with either.
What's funny here is that I still think what we talked about earlier with Denver and a trade in play here for them to go get Drew Lock. But you go back to the days of Al Davis, and I know it's a while ago now, but he wouldn't trade with the Broncos.
Yeah.
And so is that still around? Mark Davis is sitting in that draft room right now, and is he channeling his father? And he's like, no way in hell we're going to give the Broncos what they want. So that's working against it. But it'll be interesting here. And Tony, I'm intrigued by what you said, even though jumping at it, DK Metcalf and putting him
load up on offense. Yeah,
Antonio
either that
Brown.
or go for one of those corners for sure.
Yeah,
but that would be a scary looking offense.
Is this? Greedy Williams here?
Oh no, Greedy Williams will never play on a John Gruden team because Greedy Williams refuses to tackle. John Gruden will never have a corner that will not tackle. Greedy Williams makes a business decision every time the ball comes his way, and the business is bad.
And there's a lot of character concerns too.
There is character concerns, but we'll see here. Raider Nation collectively, if this is another surprise pick.
Montez Sweat to go with Farrell on your defensive
that's
line.
a good point. That's a great point.
Would you take that?
I would.
mean, he's still around.
Well,
you'll have 2 players with heart issues, allegedly. Or,
you've already got somebody on staff watching him. It's something else for him to do.
Yeah. 2 for the price of 1.
I had him going at 24 in my first mock draft.
You did?
Back in
absolutely.
And I had Baker at 27.
Yes.
And I had Ed Oliver at number 4. No.
15 defensive players taken in the draft so far, 8 offense at this point, gentlemen. Our first so-called small college, came off the board there with Titus Howard to the Houston Texans, who clearly needed the Texans needed offensive line help. There's no doubt about it. And the Eagles, by virtue of them jumping ahead and getting Andre Dillard, forced them into taking their second choice, perhaps not the way they wanted it to lay out. Raiders still on the clock, by the way, with 3.5 minutes, taking them a little bit longer to make this pick than I think most people would expect when you look at, and I'm just going to talk to the experts because we have experts here at this table, but the experts that laid out mock draft suggested if it wasn't going to be Josh Jacobs here, it was going to be a cornerback. Yeah,
or Josh Jacobs, they still have, the next pick to pick him up.
We have 3 minutes left here on the clock. Let's get picks. Let's go with who we thought. We did this with the Giants, and we were all wrong.
I have DeAndre Baker.
You have Baker. Who do you think?
I'm going Sweat.
You're going Sweat.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a corner, and I'm going to go with Rock Ya-Sin. Based on the fact that nobody likes Greedy Williams at this table for some odd reason, even though he looks like
Get used to doing this when Rock Ya-Sin's playing because those penalty flags are going to be a flag.
That's right.
He's handsy.
Yeah. I'm going to go wild card here and say Cody Ford.
Or DK Metcalf.
You only get to pick one. You only get to pick one.
I almost
if
went
they go
there.
offense, they're going to have to.
Went there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with an offensive.
Well, that guy's going to be a steal because he's going to keep dropping down. Metcalf.
Because you're looking at Baltimore and Indianapolis immediately after this pick. And Baltimore was able to trade down into 25, so they're comfortable with whoever they're going to go with. There's no doubt about it. We do know the Raiders have made their pick, which is good. They still had about 3 minutes left on the clock, which means it's most likely not a trade, just based on recent history here on the draft. But again, who am I to argue with how the NFL does its business? They could drag out the ghost of Christmas past at this point, and it wouldn't surprise me. We do know that round 3 will be the round 3 picks will be announced at the Las Vegas Stadium. They'll announce the rounds 4 and 5 from there. And
by the way, the ghost of Christmas past in Raider Nation, his name is Jamarcus Russell. Correct?
That's just a reminder that the Brain Trust doesn't always know what it's doing. But as an alum of the Oregon Ducks, I can go back to recent history and talk about quarterbacks who just didn't quite work out. Although I think Justin Herbert next year might be a little bit of a different story, at least in my humble opinion. Raiders with 2 picks here late in the first round at 24 and at 27. And we do know that the pick is in for the Raiders. And they have multiple needs.
It's good to see Mel Kiper Jr. get apoplectic over the Raiders pick. He's getting very animated.
With the 24th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Josh Jacobs, running back, Alabama.
So they went with Jacobs first.
That's a reach at 24.
Well, we knew that it was going to be one of those 2 picks because of the history of John Gruden, likes running backs. I think, it scared him this week, especially with Marshawn Lynch now retiring again. They needed a running back. I know it's very early.
They need a running back.
But this is the only running back of any quality, right?
But here's the thing. He's the best running back in a terrible groove. He's the 4th running back in last year's draft.
Yeah.
He's behind Barkley, obviously. He's behind. The kid from Notre Dame. LSU. Totally. But no, he's the 3rd or 4th running back in last year's draft class. So it's not like you're getting a premium prospect at 1. You're just getting the best of a bad group.
Well, and in my mock from last Sunday's show on Silver and Black Today, I had Jacobs at 27.
27.
I had him at 27 only because I was, that's how it fell for me. But I had Jonah Williams before that, so that was not as accurate. But I like Josh Jacobs, but I like Josh Jacobs at 35.
Yeah.
Much better.
I like I like Darrell Henderson in the 4th round, or I like Benny Snell in the 6th, or a free agent.
Yeah.
I mean, you're spending this high a draft capital on a guy who, now, granted, didn't play a whole lot at Bama, so that's nice because he's not as beat up. He's got more tread on his tire. But this, I mean, with the talent you've got still on the board, you've got your choice at wide receiver. You have wide receiver and cornerback. You can have anybody you want. You can, and you go Josh Jacobs to me. It's just I don't.
I would have taken 3 wide receivers before him.
I would have taken 2 corners. I would have taken Sweat.
Yeah.
I've got a handful of guys I would much rather have than the 2 we've drafted so far.
And I get the sense now that they're not going to trade out of 27 either.
Not now.
No.
Yeah.
Because they have needs there. I mean, if Sweat's there at 27, I have a feeling he could go here. But if Sweat's at 27, I like that pick. But another surprise, we knew they were high on Jacobs, but we didn't think he would go at number 24. But interesting night for the Raiders thus far. I guess that's the way I'll put it.
That's one way to put it. I mean, it's this whole night, just the wind's been sucked out of me with these first 2 picks.
Well, and we're going to have lots of time to talk about it on Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m.
Josh Jacobs, the 24th pick in the first round of the NFL draft. We're seeing a little bit of a run on offense now. 2 tackles. Back, so skill position. Baltimore has the 25th pick, and we'll get to that after we start paying for a few things. You're listening to the round 1 of the NFL Draft, live from Born and Raised Las Vegas here on CBS Sports Radio 1140 and live with your radio.com app.
We are on the clock. Round 1 of the NFL Draft, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
8 o'clock. Here in Las Vegas, 11 in Nashville, 3/4 of the way through the first round. The Raiders are off the board with 2 of their picks. Number 24, the most recent, Alabama running back Josh Jacobs. Charles Woodson tweeting out less than a minute ago, I must say this Jacobs pick I love, and don't take this as me not loving the Raiders' first pick, but I've truly watched this guy, and he is real. And that comes from Charles Woodson, who I believe is announcing one of the picks tomorrow during round 2 of the draft. The Baltimore Ravens traded into number 25, swapping picks with Philadelphia, who really had a love affair with Andre Dillard of Washington State. Baltimore's pick is in. They certainly had some needs in the AFC East, but they have turned over a new page with Lamar Jackson now, the starting quarterback. The Joe Flacco era has ended there, and they are making moves in Baltimore and making some changes there as well. No wide receivers off the board so far. No cornerbacks off the board so far.
Hollywood.
And with the 25th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Marquise Brown, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
This was
right on cue.
Yeah, this was kind of, you saw that coming.
Yeah.
They need wide receivers. They need somebody that Jackson can get the ball to close to the line of scrimmage, make a big play. Personally, I'm never taking a guy that's only a speed guy if he's got a foot injury. I wouldn't take him, but if he's healthy, he is dynamic.
Yeah. Well, and Paul, as you said, no wide receivers off the board. Now I think you see, as you said, Kelly, early in the show, a lot of guys top the second round, right? So I think you'll probably see a run here now. So does that impact? And does Tony get his wish of the Raiders taking DK Metcalf? With him dropping so much, there's obviously some concerns there.
There's no telling, though, what the Raiders are going to do. There's no telling.
There's no telling.
Yeah.
I'm partial to the kid, N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State. He's not a speed guy, but he's going to catch anything you throw at him. He's not going to be he's not going to be a down-the-field threat as much as any of the other guys go. But if Brown,
And that was the issue with this class is just the bigger guys most of them can't get separation. The ones that can't catch the damn football. It's like Hakeem Butler's a great pick, but he drops every 6th ball that's thrown his way. That's a problem.
Yeah.
The biggest issue with Browns, he's never faced press coverage because nobody in the Big 12 is going to try to press him.
Yeah.
He's a $166 soaking wet.
And an 8th.
Yeah. You get a big corner anywhere near him. Is he going to be able to get out of his route? Is he going to be able to get open? It's like his contested catch rate was really low because in the Big 12 you don't have contested catches because no one plays defense.
And you're playing with a guy like Kyler Murray with a dynamic offensive mind like that, where he doesn't have to create too much because your quarterback at the time is creating so much for you.
Yes.
But the NFL loves these little guys in the slot. Cole Beasley just got paid $20 million for being little. Los Angeles Rams receiver who's coming off of injury, and his name is escaping me.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp, who I loved coming out of Eastern Washington. Again, thriving and living in the slot. Now, granted, he's surrounded by a bunch of reborn wide receivers in the NFL, the island of misfit toys for the Rams. But again, another small receiver fits this kind of a mold. And with a Lamar Jackson, a very similar Kyler Murray play, there's a guy that can take you down that path.
Yeah. The difference with the Cooper Kupp, though, he's the third wide receiver on there. Brown's your number one wide receiver in Baltimore now.
Yeah.
And he's not a number one wide receiver type, so your number one guy is going to have to be a slot guy.
And so we have a trade now.
Here comes Locke.
Locke. Yeah.
The Colts have moved up and have traded into Indianapolis, or Washington has moved into Indianapolis' spot here at 26. So this is Washington, and they think they like somebody here big time, which now actually pushes Indianapolis out of the first round.
Yeah.
So Indianapolis will not have a first-round selection, and this will put Washington on the clock with about 5 minutes to go. They see somebody that they truly like on the board. We mentioned that run on offense.
Yeah. Is it going to be Locke?
But is this the ultimate offense with quarterback?
Yeah.
And it poses a question to me now, what in the world are the Colts doing? I mean, they had all that cap space money, over $100 million, right?
Yeah.
And they don't get much out of free agency, okay? And now, what are they doing?
They're saving their money to re-sign all their players. No, seriously, that's what they're doing. They're growing their talent.
So who do they sign? Devin Funchess, right?
Yeah, he's a 1-year stopgap. He's going to be a fantasy football monster because he's going to be a red zone threat. But he's not a long-term thing.
No.
But they've got their money because they see the contracts that are coming up the next couple of years they have to pay. So they're not going to blow that out on. They're not going to blow that out on free agents. Trading. Like holes to fill. I would have loved to have seen DK Metcalf in a Colts jersey. To me, that'd been insanity. They might get him later because they've got the Jets pick in the second round, so they're picking at 34. Mm-hmm. So, Metcalf could still be there at 34.
I also heard they like defensively Jerry Tillery.
Tillery's a perfect fit for him. Yeah. I would be surprised if Tillery makes it out of the first round because if you watch his Stanford tape, he's a top 5 pick in this draft. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he had to play other teams besides Stanford, or he'd be home already because he destroyed them.
There's a ton of value left, right?
No doubt about it.
In the trenches, in particular.
You mentioned emotion earlier tonight. Again, Scott. Marquise Brown genuinely happy to be selected in the first round of the NFL draft at pick 25 by the Baltimore Ravens. Washington has traded up into this position to take Indianapolis' first pick. We're getting a live look at the shot, the Marquise Brown, when he took that call from the Ravens. Washington now, though, whatever they do here, sets up the table again for the Raiders to make that pick at 27. By the way, the deal with the Colts will get the second-round draft choice for Washington and the second-round choice next year as well. So that's the trade. That's the deal there. So Washington.
That seems light.
Yeah, that's a little light to me because you're looking at a second and a third in this draft because the future draft picks are always one round less value-wise.
Yeah.
I would have expected a little more out of that, a little more from that draft,
especially this year.
Yeah,
but
it gives the Colts 3 second-round picks this year though too.
Yes.
So. A chance to recap for everybody. And take a little bit of a breather for everyone as we wait for Washington to do what it needs to do. The Arizona Cardinals went number 1 and, of course, went with the expected no smoke screen Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray. 49ers also get their wish in Oklahoma State defensive end Nick Bosa. The Jets land Alabama defensive tackle Quentin Williams. Raiders come in with their first selection of their 3 in the first draft with Clemson defensive end Cleveland Farrell. and it's LSU to Tampa Bay, the linebacker Devin White. So, and then the Giants, I don't want to miss the Giants. The Giants had 2 picks in the first round. They go with quarterback Daniel Jones out of Duke, and they use their second pick and the first pick to come out of the Odell Beckham trade, defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson. So far, it has been a defensive-minded draft for most teams so far, although we have seen a run now on 4 consecutive offensive players, and we still have many, many more picks to go, including the Raiders coming up at 27. Rounding out the rest of the round, let's just give it to you here. The Raiders at 27, the Chargers of Los Angeles at 28. Seattle holds number 29 and 30 due to some deals. The Rams will have 31, and the Patriots at this time have number 32, the Super Bowl champions. So as we move forward, guys, we still see a guy like Montez Sweat still on the board, who still hasn't come off, and Scott Gulbransen just nodded at me because it looks like he just wrote it down.
I did. Listen, what's happened tonight with the Raiders has completely surprised me in every way. So who knows what they're going to do? It reinforces some of the negative feeling, I think, of national media who talk about John Gruden kind of being a loose cannon. Now, I'm not saying both those players aren't good players, because they are. It's just where they're taken is the issue. And so now at 27, there's still a couple of guys dangling out there, Kelly, who are really good picks. If Sweat doesn't go here at 26 to Washington, which I don't think he will, then that's a hard guy to pass on. Some of the defensive backs are hard to pass on.
They were hard guys to pass on at 24.
24, I know.
Too, for a running back, which, let's be honest, like I said, he's the best running back in this draft. It's like buying the best car at a bad used car lot, though. It's like there are better options. I know we don't have a third-round pick. You could get a 4th, 5th, 6th round. You can get a running back in this draft, and the drop-off is not that much from a Jacobs.
Right. What about, you talked, Paul, about this run on wide receivers, and
the Indianapolis
it looks like the Raiders
traded the 26th pick to the Washington Redskins. And with the 26th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Washington Redskins select Montez Sweat, linebacker, Mississippi State.
They drafted Haskins.
Haskins, that's right.
Did, yeah.
You were right, Scott, but one pick too soon.
One pick too soon. So
ahead of your time.
And that's why I would have taken him at 24.
Okay, so
guess who would have been there at 27?
Jacobs.
Would have been there at 27.
Why would you?
Yeah. That's what I don't understand.
Running back.
Yeah, no doubt.
Again, I like Jacobs, and I like him a little too much. That's why I had him at 27 in my mock draft.
Okay.
But 24, you pass on this kid who I think is going to be a stellar player.
So the Raiders need to address the loss of Jared Cook, right? On the board, I've got the 3rd tight end is Irv Smith from Alabama.
If they draft a tight
happen?
end, I'm throwing these headsets at that television.
Just don't throw them at me.
If they take Irv Smith at 27,
so what do you think they're going to go for here? Because everyone else that I had projected there,
corner.
I even had Jeffrey Simmons. Okay, so the pick that they missed at 24, they're going to select now.
How do you pass on Murphy or Baker to go tight end? That would, so I'm
going to go back to my 24th pick again and go with Baker.
I still think they can go wide receiver. I know.
Well, they could go wide receiver as well.
And that's why I've always liked Harry, because Harry plays like a small tight end in some ways.
All right, so
because he's not fast, but he catches the ball.
Yeah, I'll go Baker, which means they're going to definitely select Justin Lee.
Let's
no rhyme or reason.
Let's get Raider Nation in a tizzy. They're going to take Drew Lock.
Jeez,
it could happen. If that happens, I'm doing the mic drop. Not because it's a good thing, but because I'm going to drop it.
That would, at this point, nothing would surprise me. I know everybody's going to say and Jacobs was kind of an easy pick at 24, because everybody knows they liked him. I'm just saying, I just don't like the pick. It was an easy pick. I figured he might go there. I was just hoping they think running back is not as valuable a position, especially when you don't have an elite guy. You could get 2 guys in the 6th round, 7th round, free agent that do the same thing.
Oh, and who's going to run block for him, by the way?
He's not scared to block. He'll lay you out. It's just
I'm saying who up front on the left side is going to block.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're going to be able to get something. You can get something like that at 35, which they'll probably pass on that as well. But
I'm bummed about Montez Sweat. I thought he would be a really good fit for the Raiders.
You're basically looking at you've got Farrell, Jacobson, who they get at 27. You could have had Ed Oliver, Byron Murphy, and Montez Sweat. To me, that is a way better draft.
That's why I've said all along the 3 first-round picks should all
be defense. I know you've been saying that for a while.
And I would be fine on offense, just not a running back.
Right.
Like if Hawkinson fell, Fant fell,
a big tight end,
I'm in there.
In that bottom.
If there's a wide receiver you love, hey, I'm cool with that wide receiver in the first round. And I'm not the anti-running back first-round guy. I'm anti this running back because he's not an elite prospect.
And you could add Sweat there.
Yeah, they could be in the barn tonight, like I said. Say they love Farrell, cool. You got Farrell and Sweat, so now your defensive ends are set, and you've got talent everywhere. Then you could throw Byron Murphy or DeAndre Baker in there to fix up your secondary because we need a second corner.
All right, and then you can address the linebacker position as you move along when you get to Vegas.
Yeah, I was going to say you can look at that next year. You can look at it later in the draft.
Right.
But, I mean, it's...
what do you think about ifs, ands, and buts, gentlemen? We've done lots of speculation, but we can't change the past. We can only move forward. We know that the Raiders pick is finally in, and we say finally, but again, like last time, they had about 3 minutes to work with here. So with the Raiders making that pick soon, it doesn't seem like they're pushing out. So who are we going with? I still like Rock Ya-Sin here. If we're going to go corner and go defense, that's where I'm going.
I'm still going to go DeAndre Baker or Justin Lane.
I'm going with Murphy.
See, I'm either Baker or Murphy. I'll take Murphy.
But still no Greedy Williams. So, Greedy Williams, if you're listening right now...
Learn to tackle.
That was Kelly Kriner, our draft expert, joining us.
Learn to tackle.
His address is...
He would be a top 5 pick if he could tackle.
We hear the band in Nashville. They've been playing in the rain all night. Good for them. That's rough. And they're not even getting tips. They're just playing. When you're down there on Whiskey Row and you're just grinding like they are, this is how it is. Nashville's a wonderful city. They've put on a great show for us.
RCA Studio B.
It is magical. There's no doubt about it. So we await the commissioner to come to the podium here with the Raiders' 3rd pick of the first round here in the NFL draft.
With the 27th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Jonathan Abram, defensive back, Mississippi State.
Jonathan Abram out of Mississippi State, which means 2. Mississippi State off the board in the last 8 minutes. While the guys collect themselves, we do have... on the line with us, Radio.com sports insider Elliot Shore-Parks. He is well-versed in the NFC East way of life. He can speak to that in general. Elliot, when we saw the Giants go Daniel Jones at 6, as someone who's in Philadelphia, was it just laughable and you guys just went, there go the Giants again?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I was broadcasting live from an Eagles draft party tonight, and when the Giants made their pick, the place erupted in cheer. So Eagles fans are pretty happy about the Giants selection. Let's be honest. I mean, Eagles fans have been happy about a lot recently with what the Giants have been doing over the last 2 years. I think it's a huge reach. I think they could have got him later, and it's just another move by Gettleman that leaves you scratching your head.
We see the Redskins go with Dwayne Haskins at quarterback at 15, and then we see your Philadelphia Eagles there in Philly go for a very, you want to call it a solid pick, I would suppose, out of Washington State, Andre Dillard. When Philadelphia went to its war room and talked about Dillard and moved up to get him, was this one that they really wanted to target and get off the board before anyone else could jump on it?
Yeah, Howie Roseman said after the pick that they view Dillard as a top 10 player in this draft. So they clearly feel like they've gotten value. But we all know Carson Wentz's injury history. Blocking him is going to be of the utmost importance. I would say Jason Peters, probably his last year in an Eagles uniform. They have Lane Johnson over there at right tackle. Lillard's only played left, so you presumably he's going to take over for Peters. And they have their left tackle of the future. Not going to help them much this year, but this is a pick for down the future and for protecting Carson.
Elliot Shore is with us, and we're taking a look at the NFC East. This is Tony Cordasco, Elliot, and I wanted to ask you about the Giants' 2nd pick, and what are your thoughts about Dexter Lawrence?
I think Dexter Lawrence is one of the best defensive linemen in the draft, which is saying something considering how strong this class was at defensive line. Dexter Lawrence, I think, gets a little overlooked because of, Clinton Farrell and Christian Wilkinson. But I think that he's a much better pass rusher than he's given credit for. When he got one-on-one matchups last year, he was really good. And he might be, outside of Quentin Williams, the best defensive tackle in the draft against the run, or at least certainly up there. So although they reached with their first pick, I do think they got a very solid player with the second one.
Hey, it's Kelly Kriner here. Building off that, they go nose tackle after getting a 5th-round pick for Snacks Harrison. I'm just wondering why they decided to get rid of him and then in this draft go nose tackle. If it's that big of a need or that big of an issue, why didn't you keep Harrison in the fold?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I mean, like I said, a lot of moves Gettleman makes doesn't make many sense. And when they traded Snacks Harrison, one of the reasons was to get another young player back into his spot, and now they draft a player that's going to take that young player's spot and move him back out. So, I mean, look, Lawrence is obviously younger, which is going to help over Snacks. But I think in general, this is just another mismanagement of the team's resources. You collect an extra pick, then you end up using a premium asset on a player that has a bright future, but you already had a very good player at that position. So another head-scratching move by Gettleman.
Yep. Is it possible that the Daniel Jones pick is just to set themselves up in the perfect position for the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes in 2021?
Well, it's certainly a way to drive Saquon into the ground for another year. I mean, look, if you're Saquon, that's the other thing. If you're going to draft a quarterback at 6, especially a guy like Daniel Jones, and I know you're going to develop him, why not keep Odell at that point? An elite receiver that'll help and make Daniel Jones' life a lot easier. And on top of that, you passed on quarterbacks last year that were better draft prospects. Sam Darnold was a better prospect. I think you can make the argument Josh Allen was. I would even argue Josh Rosen is. You passed on all these guys last year to now take a guy at 6 that, some people was going to go in the first round because he's a quarterback, but wasn't viewed as a top 32 player in this draft. So, I mean, as Eagles fans cheered, I will say it was a huge reach.
Yeah, that's always a good sign when you're at one of your rivals' draft parties and they applaud your draft pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Elliot, before we let you go, Montez Sweat slides all the way down to Washington, who moved up to take him and took Indianapolis out of the first round. When you see Sweat being picked by Washington as opposed to Drew Lock, who's still the most credible quarterback still left on the board, what does that signal to you?
Well, it signals to me that Andre Dillard he better be good, because Montez Sweat, I think, is an elite pass rusher, and for the Eagles to pass on him and then see him land in the division, I think it's a major problem. I think Sweat, in my opinion, was a top 10 player in this draft. Proven production for 2 years at a big-time school against big-time competition. I know there was talks about potentially him having an issue with his heart. Those were refuted somewhat today, but I think that's going to end up being one of the steals of the draft, getting him that late.
All right, a late night in Philadelphia for Elliott Shore-Parks. Elliott, appreciate the time.
Nope, no problem. Talk to you guys soon.
And that was Radio.com sports insider Elliott Shore-Parks as we continue the cavalcade of experts and guests. Guys, we'll go back to the Raiders' selection of Jonathan Abram. The Raiders tweet out, total playmaker.
Yeah, he has trouble finding the ball when his back's to it. So I think that, again, a good player. I just I'm a little bit perplexed by just where they've taken these players. That's all. I mean, that's all I'm going back to.
He's Carl Joseph 2.0. That's exact. He would rather separate your head from your shoulders than you from the ball.
He's a hard hitter. Yeah, you got it.
He lays people out, but he doesn't make plays on the ball.
Right.
That's my whole problem. You can't have him and
loses
Joseph.
The ball.
You can't have him and Joseph in the same secondary. They're basically got the same player.
NFL Draft Round 1 here, live from born and raised Las Vegas. The crowd beginning to thin out as the first round comes to an end, and the Raiders have now cleared all 3 of their first-round choices. At number 4, defensive end Clelin Ferrell from Clemson. At number 24, they go with what most mock drafts went with, which is Alabama running back Josh Jacobs. And with number 27, their final pick in the first round, Mississippi State safety Jonathan Abram. The Los Angeles Chargers now on the clock. We know the pick is in for the Chargers.
And by the way, I don't know if anybody really noticed, but the Raiders, we know from comments that they were high on Montez Sweat too. That's why I thought if he was there, they were going to pick him. Jay Gruden trades ahead of his brother to grab him, which is really interesting.
Funny. I have Dalton Reisner going here.
I have absolutely no idea who's going. Like everybody that I had,
Drew Lock.
everybody that I had put
by
in
the side of the stage
to go to the Chargers
Look at the notes
has been
on-
drafted.
There's the notes on my notes.
Drew Lock was right by this.
The Los Angeles Chargers select Jerry Tillery, defensive
Tillery.
tackle,
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
That makes sense.
Tillery's a good player.
Yeah.
I thought the Colts, that was a perfect fit for the Colts.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Tillery with the Chargers?
And we'll get your thoughts on that when we come back here. Pay some bills here on CBS Sports Radio 1140. It's round one of the NFL Draft, and we're streaming live with the radio.com app.
Dollar loan.
CBS Sports Radio.
We are on the clock. Round one of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
Paul Ihander, Scott Gulbransen, Tony Cordasco, and Kelly Kriner here live at Born and Raised Las Vegas, south of the 215 off of Buffalo and west on Warm Springs. We are here still with a handful of fans who are looking to stick it out tonight and enjoy what's left of the first round. We are 28 picks deep. We still have 4 remaining. 2 of those are held by the Seattle Seahawks at number 29 and number 30. Both acquired in trades with the Kansas City Chiefs earlier this week. The trade got them to 29, and they have also traded with the Green Bay Packers at number 30. So the Seahawks have 2 here. The Los Angeles Rams, the NFC champions, have number 31, and the New England Patriots will round things out at number 32. Guys, I'm going to ask you in terms of who might be best left on your lists, where Seattle could go from here with 29 and 30, in terms of where their needs might be. Seattle, obviously, a glaring hole at free safety. No doubt about that. They could use a little bit of offensive help for newly minted quarterback, and I would say minted in the nicest possible, as he is going to be rolling in the money. They have franchised Russell Wilson to the most extensive ways possible by giving him a large extension, so we know he is the quarterback there in place. And we do know that having a quarterback long-term means protecting him long-term. So in terms of what's left out there, guys, Seattle's best options here at 28 and 29, or is it best player available at this point?
For me, it's safety. If there's somebody on there they like, because, I mean, Earl Thomas was such a big part of that defense.
Big
their other guys are getting older. They're starting to get younger in the secondary. You know, they could use edge, but there's really nobody that's sticking out to me here. Offensive line's always been an issue. Back with Ford and Taylor still out there,
right?
Especially through back-to-back picks. You mean you could really solidify either that offense or defensive line.
Could they? One of the names that they've been associated with, as were the Raiders, was Adderley. It's a reach, bottom of the first round, but that could be a guy that I think could fit nicely in Seattle.
Yeah, measures just under 6 feet, real solid hitter, played, a Delaware Blue Hen. So, a small college, played in that small college, but certainly still a big hitter, a guy that turned heads at the combine, certainly, a guy that turned heads, in front of the scouts. But, yes, certainly a reach, not one of those guys that's truly rated high, but a guy that, again, fits the need.
He's got some corner flexibility as well, so you can kind of throw him down there in a nickel corner in a pinch if you needed to. So it's not like you got a guy that's just getting pigeonholed in one spot.
But remember, you gave up Frank Clark for this selection, so that and you got a couple of others as well. But you're replacing an interior lineman or an edge lineman, perhaps, or do you just say, you know what, I like me some DK Metcalf, Tony Cordasco.
Well, you know how much I like him. But I think that their needs, guys, were defensive end, defensive tackle, and free safety. Yeah, those are the needs for the team. But who's best available right now on the board?
Well, I like – Kelly mentioned some of the offensive linemen like Ford. With the 2 picks in a row, I would try to –
What about Burns from Florida State? He's still out there?
Off the board.
He's gone.
No, he's gone.
Off the board to the
he's
Panthers.
gone. Sorry.
That's okay.
But what about a Chase Winovich?
Too early.
Second round, right?
Yeah, too early for Winovich, in my opinion. I I would rather have him than Rashawn Gary, in my opinion. But I think for Seattle, I wouldn't go edge here. because just because you have a need doesn't mean you need to fill it now.
Seattle ran out the clock on its pick number 29. Perhaps that was just making 2 phone calls to making sure that they could line up 29 and 30.
Yeah, they have the next pick, so they actually have twice the time because nobody can jump them and take their pick. They have the next pick. So we could be here a minute.
They jumped themselves, I suppose. I guess is how it would. Green Bay moved out of number 30 and moved up to get Darnell Savage, the DB out of Maryland, and traded down with Seattle. So Seattle with back-to-backs here. LA Rams have the 31st pick, and then the Patriots will round things out at 32. So it is the 12s, so to speak, who have 29 and number 30 as they lead us down the road here. We thought this was going to end at about 8:30, but it seems like everyone wants to take their time and last a lot longer. And we'll stay right here with you to keep you up to date on what's going on in the round. If we see any more trades moving in, guys, do you see anyone moving, trying to get into that Rams pick or the Patriots 31-32, just knowing who's out there and who's available based on need?
Well, I still think I'm surprised, even though I didn't think he was going to be a top 10 pick. I didn't think Daniel Jones was going to be a top 10 pick either. That Drew Lock is still there. And so could one of these picks go? Because if you look at the way the second round starts tomorrow, you have Arizona, Indianapolis, Oakland, San Francisco, then the Giants, and then Jacksonville, who just got a quarterback, and then Tampa Bay. Like, I don't see where Drew Lock goes.
32 to New England, and they dominate. And they dominate the AFC East for another decade.
No, that's a good point.
I thought he might be gone, and I had Will Grier maybe, going.
You can just hear the disdain in my voice when I said that, too.
But it's true. I had thought that maybe New England would be the team to trade out to try to get Rosen.
Yeah, New England's got 12 picks in this draft, so they're not going to trade back.
No.
So they're kind of stuck.
They're just stuck there.
Yeah, they're stuck there. Yeah.
Did the Seahawks sneak in and hose the Rams and go for an Eric McCoy out of A&M and grab themselves a center? Because it is a need for Seattle.
It's possible. I don't think the Rams are going to go center. There's a big thing now. I think Bradbury was just such a good fit that was kind of the only time they were going to look center. Because there's the centers and stuff and later in the draft you can deal with. Because once you lose out on that kind of premium.
Black today is the handle.
Silver Black, the number 2 day.
Silver. Okay, you're going to have to spell it out for people.
Silver Black, the number 2 DAY.
That's the Twitter handle.
You got it.
Off-season news as well. Beat_Saturday. And you can also follow Kelly Kriner, who's got plenty of action at
it's Rating the Draft.
Rating the Draft.
Rating the Draft.
Traditional spelling of rating.
RAIDING.
Like Raiders, but ING.
Rating the Draft. Or also follow us at Sports Radio 1140. That's CBS Sports Radio 1140.com. You can follow our handles there. And we've been pushing out lots of Raiders news and lots of off-season news as we see Patrick Mahomes, hopefully, for Raiders fans, will have the Madden curse as he was named the cover boy for a Madden.
Tyreek Hill already got hit with it.
Madden 2020 cover boy. Recapping those picks for you for the first 3 picks of the NFL draft went Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray to the Cardinals, Ohio State tight end Nick Bosa to the San Francisco 49ers, and Alabama defensive tackle Quinnen Williams to the New York Jets. The Raiders followed at number 4 with Clemson defensive end Cleveland Farrell, and Tampa Bay went with LSU linebacker Devin White New York Giants, Daniel Jones, quarterback from Duke. The Jaguars land Kentucky defensive end Josh Allen. The first tight end comes off the board of the Iowa 2 is T.J. Hawkinson with Detroit. Buffalo Bills land Ed Oliver, the mighty defensive tackle out of Houston. And rounding out the top 10, the Pittsburgh Steelers pull up to number 10 and take Michigan linebacker Devin Bush. Raiders fans still hanging out with us here as we wait for the Seahawks, who have back-to-back picks, number 29 and number 30. And the Seattle has actually traded pick number 30 to the New York Giants. So the Giants have moved into the first round and have taken number 30. So now
they're taking Drew Lock to make up for the Daniel Jones pick.
So now we're sitting on where Seattle's going to go with 29, which may be holding up things. And Seattle moving number 30 to the Giants. So some late round drama, as we had just been talking about moments ago. Somebody moving back into the first round as they see a player that they know, we've got a plethora of
It's going to be
picks
Metcalf.
It's going to be Metcalf.
It's got to be Metcalf. It has to be. Or another big offensive lineman to get some depth there.
Metcalf's going first pick, second round. He's going to have Kyler Murray thrown it to him, isn't he? We're going to have to watch that for years, aren't we?
The Giants, with 2 picks, they passed the time on themselves on 29, but ended up trading 30 to the Giants. So now the Giants will have 3 number 1 selections, much like the Raiders. The Giants went number 6, Daniel Jones, the quarterback from Duke. And then at number 17, defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson. Now, technically, the Rams are on the clock right now. We do know the picks have been in for a while for Seattle, but we'll see where the Giants go. The Giants move into 30, guys.
Who are they moving? I mean, who are they moving
I don't know
in
why.
for?
Yeah.
They, like I said earlier, they've had offensive tackle. I mean, they've had offensive line issues.
Yeah.
They might look to try to fill that up.
But there's nobody there that I would move. I mean, you're at 37.
Yeah.
So why would – it depending what they gave up. Now, I would imagine they gave up some pretty good capital to get to that spot, and Seattle probably just stockpiled more picks, so good for them.
You're only moving up 6 or 7
pick
picks.
in the 2019
Here's the commission.
It's going to be Juwan.
Draft. The Seattle Seahawks select L.J. Collier, defensive end, TCU.
Well,
it's a good pick.
Does that expression say reach, or what are you thinking there, guys?
I was told by, and did I write it and put it on the website? I was told by somebody I know in the league. It's like, give me one surprise pick that's going to come out, and he said L.J. Collier will be a first-round draft pick. And after I laughed and picked up the phone, I'm like, no, seriously, I'm writing something. I need something to do. He's like, L.J. Collier will be a first-round draft pick. And I mean, okay. He's got a high motor, played well at TCU. But, I mean, to be the end of – and this is 2 years in a row that the Seattle first-round pick makes 0 sense to me.
Yes.
The Rashad Penny pick last year, in my opinion, was a terrible pick.
Too high.
Collier – mid-second round type guy. I know the edge defenders and stuff are flying off the board, but I mean, I don't see the upside in this pick for Seattle.
So Seattle with this pick lands a second pick, a fourth, and another fourth for trading out of this pick. And we know the Giants pick is in now as they traded Seattle for those terms. Seattle stockpiling picks now with 9 picks in tonight's draft. And we know the commissioner is going to head back to the podium for the Giants.
They went from 5 to 9, so they are, I mean, that's what they like to do. They like to add
Commissioner
picks.
again.
Defensive back, Georgia.
DeAndre Baker. So DeAndre Baker.
We had Baker up there, but that's a good pick.
I just can't believe Byron Murphy's still on the board.
Still out there, yeah.
DeAndre Baker, corner, off the board now. The first corner off the board. Rams are now on the clock. Rams have about 5 minutes roughly, and then the New England Patriots. While we wait for the Rams, we'll take our final break of the night. It's CBS Sports Radio 1140 coverage of the round 1 of the NFL Draft live here in Las Vegas.
We are on the clock. Round 1 of the NFL Draft. Live on CBS Sports Radio 1140.
So while we were away, we had a trade. The Rams moved out of number 31, and they traded the pick to the Atlanta Falcons, and we're at the podium.
Tackle, Washington.
So that would be Washington.
What?
We missed the pick, unfortunately. We apologize for that.
It's McGarry from Washington.
McGarry from Washington.
So this is Caleb McGarry.
I thought Jawan Taylor.
Jawan Taylor's the highest went on the board.
Right. That's who I was like. I was just looking up some numbers on Taylor.
Yeah, I mean,
they traded into the first round for Caleb McGarry.
It's bizarre, right?
That's almost as bizarre as the Raiders.
This is a big reach. I mean,
I'll tell you what, somebody's
right.
going to have some major steals, round 2.
Oh, yeah. Top of round 2 is going to be
Round
fantastic.
2 is going to be wild.
Yeah, because he's right tackle only in the NFL.
Right.
He's not going to be able to play left. Had injury issues. I mean, this is...
I was teeing up Jawan Taylor. It's got to be Taylor, right? They need a tackle.
And plus, like I said earlier with the Dillard pick, in the Pac-12, they don't go against any... They went against no high-end off or defensive linemen the last couple of years. So, I mean, it's like, this is... Yeah, this is a shock to me.
Well, and what gets to me, again, and it goes back to what we were talking about with the Raiders earlier, which is, okay, your guy's your guy, but if you know your guy's going to fall 10 more spots, why do you take him there? And in this case, the Falcons trade in to the first round. We don't know. What did they give up? We don't even know yet, right?
Second.
I
think getting third.
Pick up rounder. He's correct. Falcons have a late round pick a late round 6th rounder by moving up to 31.
So a player you could have gotten in the second round, you traded your second and third for it.
I understand the idea of the 5th round option for developmental players like a quarterback and something like that. With the tackle, that's not something I'm really worried about.
No.
Because in 3 or 4 years, you're not worried like that. Should we sign the guy still? You're not worried about that. If in 3 years you don't know, chances are you're moving on from it.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Some interesting developments tonight,
you got
fellas.
Cody Ford and Jawan Taylor on the board, and you go for Caleb McGarry.
Well, that is for the Falcons. 2 offensive linemen. Chris Lindstrom from Boston College went at 14, and now Caleb McGarry, the tackle from the University of Washington.
They addressed the need,
They definitely addressed the need. You cannot argue that point whatsoever. So the final pick belongs to the Super Bowl champion, New England Patriots.
That's hard to say.
If they come away with DK Metcalf, I'm going to be stewing.
Exactly. Tony Cordasco, this could be they have multiple choices of wide receiver if that's the way they want to go. But think about it. There are multiple choices of wide receiver. They have other picks. They don't necessarily have to go there with 32.
Or do we see a last-second trade? That's a Bill Belichick move, right?
Yeah. Normally Belichick trading down, you just bet that because that's going to happen. But like I said, they've got 12 picks in this draft. They can't they can't possibly use all the picks they have now.
Right.
So them trading back, I mean, they took Isaiah Wynn at tackle last year. Tackle's not as big a need. Cornerback. I mean. They could go about anywhere. I just still don't understand that Atlanta pick, man. It's like
you're still trying to figure it out.
I'm trying.
What about Joejuan Williams out of Vanderbilt?
Yeah,
they've mentioned his name prominently.
He's like the big press man type corner. It's the way Belichick runs his system to where he has his number 2 guy and the safety go against the number 1. It's not really a guy I think would fit their system that well.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, they're corners usually not something they spend draft capital on for that reason. They went out and they signed Gilmore as a free agent, and most of their secondary that they've had in the past are later round draft picks. They need a wide receiver. They need a tight end. I'm not. I don't think it would be Irv Smith Jr. I think it'd be Sternberger from Texas A&M if they went tight end here, but I don't think they're going tight end. It's the Patriots, man. We don't know what they're going to do.
What if Metcalf falls into their lap, though? Seriously.
And you still have A.J. Brown.
A.J. Brown's there. Locke is there. They keep showing Locke because he's standing
He's been
pacing for like 2 hours in the.
He bet
in the
over
green
4
room.
quarterbacks in the first round.
Yeah,
too.
he's got the same bet. I think
probably does.
Or do you want to bolster your front line, with the Cody Ford still sitting out there? You know, the Patriots have a lot of ways to go with this one. A lot of ways to go.
Whatever happens at this pick, I mean, we all know Belichick sold his soul to the devil years ago, so whatever happens is going to happen. The Cardinals, with the first pick in the next draft, are going to be fielding all kinds of phone calls for people wanting to come up to that number 1 pick in that second round now.
Yes.
Because
they said it might be Harry, though, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Cardinals.
Well, yeah, but that was before you saw who else was left on the board.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent. The pick's ready?
And we'll see where the run goes. The Patriots pick is in. This is the final pick of the first round of the NFL Draft of 2019. And we'll close the chapter on a very successful Thursday night in Nashville, and a very interesting night with the gentleman here who's sitting in front of me here at Born and Raised Las Vegas. It's been a night of twists and turns. There's no doubt about it. I think if you could look at all the chicken scratches on all the notes that we've been taking that have been sitting in front of us.
I was digital
notepads.
today. I didn't
From
scratch
17
anything.
to 31 is nothing but chicken
Yes,
scratch.
you were very direct with anything that you wrote down. It was the 1 word, 2 words. You clearly have the Twitterverse down, 140 characters or less. It was literally exclamation points and emojis for a while.
Did you notice he just cut and pasted his selections and put them on Twitter?
It was Montez Sweat with like a dripping water. Again, we're getting a little bit silly here, but it
With
has
the
certainly been a wild
32nd
night.
pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select N'Keal Harry, wide receiver.
Oh, they did go
Arizona
Harry.
State.
Oh, man. Yeah.
To all our
right, guys.
fans here
Good
in
pick at
Nashville,
32.
over
You know,
200,000 people.
again, I'm
attended
biased.
tonight.
I've always
Thank
liked
you
the
for your
kid.
passion. We'll see
I
you all
think that-
tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you, Roger Goodell. I think that he was
Cardinals have gotta be
definitely.
upset. Yeah.
I think he was definitely a high second rounder. But with the Patriots, as you guys were just talking about, they have so many picks this draft, and they can go any direction. I think he fits well there. He's not going to be asked to stretch the field, and he's going to catch some balls from Tom Brady for a year or two, and then we'll see where they go. But I think it's a good pick for them.
I think it's a great pick for New England because it's like you said, he's not that stretch. He can go deep and do stretch the field. That's not what he's best at.
Right.
And with Brady in that offense, that's the last thing you're going to do. He's basically the Gronk replacement for him because they had him in the slot, him out so much. You could line him up at tight end the way they run that defense. Yeah. He's obviously going to be their outside guy. But I mean, you could move him all around. Great, good hands can separate. He's the kind of guy Brady's gonna be able to use. They're just gonna back shoulder throw the hell out of everybody in the AFC.
Well,
East.
at 6'4.5", 213, they'll bulk him up a little bit, and that's why I called him earlier kind of a tight end light because he's got more, obviously a little more speed than most tight ends, so he can play that tweener position and be outside. And you're right about replacing Gronk. You don't replace Gronk, but at least in that spot. And so I like it.
Seeing some immediate tweets from Arizona-based media in Phoenix. The one from a good friend of mine, damn it. I think they were truly hoping that N'Keal Harry...
They were going to sleep on it.
It's hard for me, too, because I like him.
It was going to be a big wake-up.
That was going to be huge for them.
Harry had skipped the Las Vegas Bowl in preparation for the NFL Draft.
Yeah.
Did not appear here at the bowl
I wanted
game
to watch him.
against Fresno State and ASU, and had sat out that and had understood that this was all about living out the dream and becoming a first-round pick. And he even predicted he was not going to go past 33 because the Cardinals were definitely enamored with him, but not enamored enough to make that one move to go one higher.
Well, now the Cardinals can go get DK Metcalf unless somebody trades into that spot. Like you said, the value is going to be there.
Or Taylor, because their offensive line's hot garbage.
That's
and
true,
if you've got a small quarterback back there that you need to protect, I think they've got to go offensive line because wide receiver you can get later in this draft. You've got 2 first-round talents still sitting there with that first pick up there. Or if somebody comes in and blows you away with an offer because your roster's bad, you need picks, you can trade back. But if I'm them, it's offensive line or a trade.
What grade would you guys, I'm curious, give the Raiders for tonight's draft. I'd have to say probably around a C, personally.
I need to make that very clear. Based on where they drafted some of these players, I would give it a high D.
Wow.
I really would.
Kelly?
Again,
I'm kind of right there in that same thing. You know, it's like the players they picked, like I said, they got some good talent.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just looking at what they could have had in those three spots.
Exactly.
You know, the way our defense was, you know, okay, say Farrell 4. Okay, I'm fine with that. But at 24 and 27, you could have added, you know, a Sweat and I would have said Murphy or a Baker you could have got either one of those guys. You just added to your secondary by taking another guy who's just a do-over of Carl Joseph. You know, so that doesn't help.
Right.
It's like
and Jacobs would have been there at 35, I believe, unless somebody traded up. I don't think anybody's trading up for Josh Jacobs.
No. I don't either, but if he's not, I mean, he's there at 27 for sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously they were taking Abram. The Abram's going to be there too. So they obviously had their guys. They're like, this is who we're taking. We don't care how this thing falls. You know, these are the guys we're going to target. And
again, it goes back to value, though. You know, you're, and this is why, Tony, I go with the high D because, and I'm just simplifying here. You have a $50 or $10 player, and you're paying $50. I'm not saying he's not a good player and that he's not going to fill. Again, I like Farrell. I think he's a good player. He's going to be fine on the end for the Raiders. I just think he would have fallen more. That's my issue with the Raiders draft. And we'll talk a lot about it on Sunday. I know you'll talk about it on Sports Beat on Saturday. But I'm trying to absorb it still. I think it's a little shocking for as much as they had. They were the talk of the draft. 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
And if you look at it now, because of the Giants' quarterback pick at 5, 6, 5. Can't remember now. So long ago. 6. The Giants and the Raiders look to be kind of the disappointments in the draft.
Yeah, and you know, I go back to last year's draft, and as it grades out, I think there's just one player, right?
Yeah.
That's not on the roster that was drafted a year ago by the Raiders, but I'm okay with last year's draft, all things considered, and I don't remember questioning a lot of what they did a year ago.
No, they reached with Miller a little bit.
A little bit with Miller, yeah.
Hurst, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Every pick.
Well, the Miller one, going that high was definitely a reach, but
Brandon Parker went early, and then none of the later round guys ever made it.
All right, still lots of football left. Lots of players still left in rounds 2 and 3 for tomorrow night. Some serious talent on the board. For Kelly Kriner, Tony Cordasco, Scott Gulbransen, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen.
Awesome. Same here.
From born and raised Las Vegas, Paul Ihander saying good night, everybody.